Chapter 770. This time, after losing Yuan Tingting, he had to pay a huge price to invite the two freaks of Clear River. When he thought of the price he had to pay, he was heartbroken. It was all because of that bitch Yuan Tingting and Lu Ming's meddling. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to pay such a huge price. He was determined to win the competition this time. Apart from his daughter, Yi Qing, he had two sons. He had to fight for the spots to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain for his two sons. Only then could his Yi clan continue to prosper. Moreover, Yi Fa sneered. Others didn't know that his Yi clan's ancestor had broken through from the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm to the 4th layer of the spiritual sea realm a few days ago. His battle strength had increased greatly. This way, the Wind Sword Sect's strength had increased greatly. This time his Wind Sword Sect not only wanted to get into the top 6, but also the top 3, or even the first place. Just as his imagination was running wild, a figure appeared in the sky and emitted a terrifying pressure. The judge had arrived. Their competition would be hosted by someone from the depths of Nine Dragon City. There were 3 dragon veins in the depths of Nine Dragon City. They didn't belong to any faction, but belonged to the Tian Forbidden Guard, which was the direct force of Martial Emperor De. Even the 6 ancient clans didn't have the right to use them. That force was extremely terrifying. This judge belonged to the Tian Forbidden Guard. The Tian Forbidden Guard could be said to be the core force of the Tian Divine Guards. The leaders of the 36 factions stood up and greeted the judge. Alright, let's not talk too much. The competition for the spots to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain starts now. There are a total of 36 factions. Those who are going to fight stand out. If anyone dies in the middle of the competition, you can't replace them, the judge announced. Immediately, the members of the 36 factions stood up and flew to the center of the fighting ring. Lu Ming's group and the other 6 members of the Sea Cloud sect flew to the fighting ring and stood in a row. Everyone looked at the people on the fighting ring, observing their opponents and which experts they had. This time around, there are so many strong rogue cultivators that have been invited out. All the major forces have really paid a huge price for this. Yeah, look, the Wind Sword sect invited the 2 freaks of Clear River. The boss of the 2 freaks of Clear River is a powerful warrior in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. He's a formidable opponent. There's also the Crimson Moon sect. The Crimson Moon sect invited 6 Fingers Loner, who is also a powerful warrior in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. The most terrifying one is the Intentionless Mansion. The Intentionless Mansion has always been known as the strongest of the 36 factions. They themselves have 2 powerful warriors in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This time, a few unfamiliar faces have appeared in the team. I wonder what cultivation level they have? Many people looked at the fighting ring and discussed. Around the 3 cities, there were 36 forces, and they were all small forces. Normally, if there was an elite at the peak of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier, they would be considered upper-class forces, and if there was an elite at the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, they would be a top-notch force. Haha, look, the Sea Cloud sect actually sent out 3 young people in their 20s. It seems that the Sea Cloud sect really has no one else. That's right, haha, but with the strength of the Sea Cloud sect, they're only focused on participating. I don't think they're thinking about fighting for a spot. That's probably the case. They're just here to make up the numbers. Many people saw the lineup of the Sea Cloud sect and laughed. Of the people sent out by the 36 forces, except for the Sea Cloud sect, there wasn't a single youth under the age of 30. Haha, Qiao Long, if your Sea Cloud sect has no one else, you can go yourself. Why send a few juniors to their deaths? There was a force beside the Sea Cloud sect called the Iron Bone sect. At this moment, the sect leader of the Iron Bone sect laughed loudly and looked at Qiao Long. The Iron Bone sect had always had a grudge with the Sea Cloud sect. Although they were slightly stronger than the Sea Cloud sect, they also invited a few powerful warriors this time. Now that they saw that the Sea Cloud sect even called a few juniors up, they naturally had to seize the opportunity to ridicule them. Maybe Brother Qiao just wants to go through the motions. Once the competition starts, he'll immediately admit defeat, and nothing will happen. On the other side, the sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect mocked. Normally, the sect leaders and family heads of the major forces wouldn't fight. After all, they were sect leaders. If they fought and died in battle, the impact would be great. Humph, the battle hasn't started yet. Don't speak so early, or else you'll be embarrassed. Qiao Long said calmly. Haha, Qiao Long, According to what you said, those juniors are peerless geniuses? Haha. The sect leader of the Iron Bone sect laughed even louder, full of ridicule. Geniuses? There weren't many who could be called geniuses in the entire eastern wilderness. Only the top 600 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 geniuses had reached the sea spirit realm. Even if some rising talents were included, there wouldn't be more than 1,000 geniuses. Among these 1,000 geniuses, the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Talisman Puppet sect took up a portion, while the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace only had a portion. How could a small sea cloud sect invite geniuses? Not only did the sect leader of the Iron Bone sect not believe it, but the other forces also didn't believe it. Humph, they look down on us. When the time comes, we'll let Lu Ming and the others teach them a lesson and surprise them. Qiao Xian and Ruan Tingting were sitting together. At this moment, they were pouting and snorting coldly. They were very unhappy. Okay, you guys go back to your seats. The referee in the sky looked at them and nodded. Lu Ming and the others returned to their seats. The rules this time are very simple. There are a total of 36 forces, and I'll call out the names later. The two forces that are called out will fight against each other. The winner will advance, and the loser will be eliminated. In the second round, there will be 18 forces left, and they will also fight against each other to determine the top 9. Finally, the top 9 will take turns to fight against each other. The top 6 will obtain a place to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain. Now let's begin. After the referee announced the names, he glanced at the field and called out, Red Moon Sect vs. Zhang Clan. Immediately, two forces entered the field. One was the Red Moon Sect, and the other was the Zhang Clan. The Zhang Clan is bound to lose. They're not strong to begin with. The Red Moon Sect has 2 patriarchs at the peak of the 3rd tier of the spiritual sea realm, and they've even invited Six-Finger Sanren. This time, they have a chance to enter the top 6. That's right. But this makes sense. The weak will be eliminated, and the strong will advance. Everyone was discussing as they looked at the field. The 9 people of the Zhang clan looked very serious. Once they entered the field, their figures changed and formed a battle formation. Light circulated. Hee, the difference in strength is so big. How can a battle formation change that? Attack directly and defeat them. In the Red Moon sect, there was a green-haired old man with 6 fingers. He was the Six-Finger Sanren. He strode forward in a domineering manner, and defeated the Zhang clan's battle formation in a barbaric way. The strongest in the Zhang clan were 2 martial artists at the middle stage of the 3rd tier of the spiritual sea realm. They were no match for him at all. Soon, the battle formation was defeated, and one of their martial artists at the 3rd tier of the spiritual sea realm was killed by Six-Finger and the other 2. The others were shocked and hurriedly admitted defeat. Chapter 771. The Crimson Moon Sect won easily. Next, the referee selected 2 more forces to fight. The strength of these 2 forces was also quite different, and the winner was easily determined. Following that, the competition continued without stopping. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 matches had been carried out. Next, the Sea Cloud Sect versus the Iron Bone Sect. The referee's voice came. Haha, Qiao Long, I didn't expect to fight with your Sea Cloud Sect. Just what I want. The Iron Bone Sect leader laughed. Qiao Long was slightly stunned, then sneered. This is what I want to say. Just what I want. Swish. Swish. Figures flashed, and 9 people from each side jumped onto the fighting ring. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stood behind the formation, looking at each other. The Iron Bone Sect invited a few experts. There were 2 at the late stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm, and 1 at the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm. The others were all at the 2nd layer of the spiritual sea realm. On Lu Ming's side, the strongest was only at the peak of the 2nd layer of the spiritual sea realm, and there were as many as 5 at the 1st layer of the spiritual sea realm. Ha ha ha, Sea Cloud Sect, I advise you to admit defeat. There is no suspense in this match. In the Iron Bone Sect, a burly man laughed. Your last sentence is right. There is no suspense in this match, but you are the ones who lost. Hurry up and admit defeat, and you can reduce some losses. The fatty Kong Jin carried his battle axe and grinned. Haha, fatty, what did you say? You want us to admit defeat? Is there something wrong with your head? The burly man from the Iron Bone Sect laughed, full of ridicule. Around the fighting ring, people from other forces also laughed. The lineup of the Sea Cloud sect was really terrible. There were actually 5 at the first layer of the spiritual sea realm. It could be said that it was one of the worst forces among the 36 forces. And that fatty actually boasted shamelessly that he wanted the Ironbone faction to admit defeat? It was really funny. You dare to talk to me like that? Hee hee, I will remember it. Kong Jin looked at the burly man and smiled ferociously. You don't have to make a move. I can defeat them alone. The burly man from the Ironbone sect showed coldness in his eyes and stepped forward. Boom, boom. As he stepped forward, the battle platform rumbled. His aura of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier completely exploded, and a battle axe appeared in his hand. With his cultivation at the late stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean realm, he alone was enough to defeat such a lineup of the Sea Cloud sect. Lu Ming, don't do anything. Let me do it alone. Kong Jin shouted as he carried his battle axe and rushed forward. The spectators were speechless. This fatty really boasted shamelessly. With a mere cultivation in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, he actually dared to threaten to defeat 9 people from the Ironbone sect by himself? How could this be? The people of the Ironbone faction even revealed mocking smiles. Kill! The Ironbone sect's big man shouted loudly. His voice was like thunder as he chopped his axe towards Kong Jin. Kong Jin smiled ferociously. He waved his hand, and the battle axe, which was as big as a door, slashed forward. Clang! Bang! The 2 axes slashed together. First, there was a clang sound. Then, an amazing scene appeared. The battle axe in the burly man's hand directly exploded and turned into fragments that scattered in all directions. Kong Jin's battle axe did not stop and continued to slash down. No! The burly man shouted in horror. Puchi! The next moment, he was directly split into 2 halves by Kong Jin's battle axe. The whole place suddenly quieted down. Everyone's eyeballs instantly popped out as they watched all this in shock. Kong Jin, a martial artist in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, actually killed a martial artist in the late stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier with one move. How could this be? It was too incredible. Kill! Before anyone could react, Kong Jin had already held his battle axe and rushed towards the people of the Ironbone sect like a mad beast. The battle axe's attack was as violent as a storm. Set up the formation. Set up the formation. The people of the Ironbone sect only reacted now and shouted in horror. The remaining 8 people hurriedly set up a battle formation, wanting to stop Kong Jin. But they were useless after all. Kong Jin's attack was too violent. He comprehended the shattering concept and the earth concept. The combination of these 2 concepts had an unimaginable destructive power. Boom! Boom! With just a few moves, the Ironbone sect's great formation was broken into pieces by Kong Jin. Puff! Puff! With a wave of the battle axe, another expert in the late stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier was killed. Another expert in the early stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier was also killed. Kong Jin was like a violent beast, undefeatable. Admit defeat. We admit defeat. The remaining 6 people screamed crazily and were already scared out of their wits. Humph, really weak. Kong Jin curled his lips and was a little unhappy. He carried his battle axe and walked back. All around, everyone could only widen their eyes and stare blankly at this scene, looking at Kong Jin blankly. Too strong. He defeated the Ironbone sect alone. The Ironbone sect was really pitiful. Just now the burly man said that he would defeat the Sea Cloud sect alone, but in the end, he was defeated by Kong Jin alone. How could it be? How could it be? In the area of the Ironbone sect, the sect leader's face was pale. He looked at this scene in disbelief and muttered to himself. Haha, didn't I just say it? Don't be too sure of your words before the battle. Otherwise, you'll be embarrassed. Qiao Long looked at the sect leader of the Ironbone sect and laughed loudly. Prodigy. This is definitely a prodigy. Qiao Long, how could your Sea Cloud sect invite such a person? The sect leader of the Ironbone sect said with red eyes. With the cultivation of the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, he could actually kill an expert in the late stage of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier with one move. This battle prowess had already reached the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This was not only a prodigy, but also not an ordinary prodigy, but a top prodigy. How could a mere Sea Cloud sect invite such a powerful prodigy? You don't have to worry about this. Qiao Long sneered, feeling extremely comfortable in his heart. At this time, The leaders of the other major forces were also discussing animatedly. That fatty is definitely a top prodigy. Crossing more than 2 levels to kill an opponent. Incredible. Ordinary prodigies definitely can't do it. His battle prowess has probably reached the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. The first layer of the spiritual ocean tier is actually equivalent to the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This is too terrifying. Not necessarily. In my opinion, his battle axe is very powerful, shattering the opponent's spirit weapon in one move. The opponent was stunned for a moment before being killed by him in one move. His battle prowess may not have reached the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, but it's infinitely close. Makes sense. The people around were discussing. On the battle platform, the other participants of the Sea Cloud sect were also a little stunned. They just stood on the stage for a while, and they didn't even set up a battle formation, and they won. This victory was too easy. Don't waste it. Lu Ming's figure flashed and collected the storage rings of the 3 martial artists killed by Kong Jin. At the same time, he took the opportunity to swallow the blood essence. This was the blood essence of a martial artist in the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Lu Ming didn't want to waste it. Fatty, 3 storage rings, 1 for each person. After speaking, Lu Ming threw 1 to Kong Jin and 1 to Xian Yanqing, keeping 1 for himself. Now, he was too short of spirit crystals to let it go. Chapter 772. This battle, the Sea Cloud sect wins. The referee announced. Lu Ming and the others stepped off the stage, welcoming the cheers of the Sea Cloud sect. The other sects looked at the Sea Cloud sect, revealing a trace of seriousness. The Sea Cloud sect, regardless of the others, had Kong Jin, which was very troublesome. The competition continued. Lu Ming sat in the stands, refining the essence blood with all his strength. The essence blood of 3 martial artists in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm was really too rich. It was the first time that Lu Ming swallowed such rich and powerful essence blood. He used all the essence blood power to upgrade the 2nd bloodline. He planned to upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to the divine grade first. In that way, the power of the prison-suppressing celestial skill would increase greatly. Then, he would upgrade the 9 dragons bloodline. The powerful essence blood power constantly poured into the prison-suppressing steel bloodline. Time passed quickly. Not long after, the first round of the competition ended, and the top 18 were all born. Those who won were happy, because they were 1 step closer to the top 6. And those who lost were dejected. Such a great opportunity was lost. The referee let the major forces rest for an hour, and then began the 2nd round. The 2nd round was still arranged by the referee. The referee seemed to be intentional. Those most powerful forces were not arranged together at the beginning, but were separated. This way it seemed fair. If those powerful forces met at the beginning, then there would be forces that could attack the top 6. It would be a bit unfair if they were eliminated in advance. The 2nd round of the competition continued. There were a total of 9 battles for the 18 forces. The Sea Cloud sect was arranged for the 7th battle. At this time, the essence blood in Lu Ming's body was almost completely refined. Although the essence blood of 3 martial artists in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm was rich, it was impossible to upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to the divine grade. It only reached the perfection of the 9th level of the king grade. To break through to the divine grade, it was unknown how much essence blood was needed. In this battle, the Sea Cloud sect's opponent was the Surging Wave sect. This force had an elite in the peak of the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm, and there were also several other experts in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm. At the beginning of the competition, the opponent formed a battle formation, prioritizing defense. On the Sea Cloud sect side, Kong Jin launched a storm of attacks, and the others only assisted. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing never made a move, following behind the crowd. This was their plan. First of all, Kong Jin only needed to make a move. Their targets were the stronger powers. It was not their turn to make a move yet. In this battle, in the end, under Kong Jin's storm-like attacks, the opponent's battle formation was destroyed. That martial artist at the peak of the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean realm was heavily injured and was almost chopped off by Kong Jin's axe. Luckily, they admitted defeat in time. In this way, the Sea Cloud sect had already locked in the top 9. The last 2 rounds ended quickly, and the top 9 were all out. Intentionless Mansion, Sea Cloud sect, Crimson Moon sect, Wind Sword sect, Sure family. In the process of entering the top 9, the most shocking was still the Wind Sword sect. Not only did the Wind Sword sect have the 2 freaks of Clear River, but an ancestor of the Wind Sword sect also erupted in this battle and displayed the cultivation of the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, shocking everyone. The Wind Sword sect actually had 2 powerful martial artists in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and was thought by everyone to be the most likely to enter the top 3, or even the top 2. As for Intentionless Mansion, there was no doubt that it was considered the strongest. After entering the top 9, the next step was to take turns fighting. Each force would have to fight against the other 8 forces, and the ranking would be determined according to the results. The order of the battles would be decided by drawing lots. The first battle was between Intentionless Mansion and Xueqi family. Xueqi family was Xueqi's family. They were also very powerful, having an ancestor in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. However, this battle was against Intentionless Mansion, and there was no suspense at all. They had not even started the battle, and Xueqi family had already admitted defeat. It was a ranking battle now, not an elimination battle. Of course, they had to admit defeat. Otherwise, if they lost a few experts, how would they compete later? So when encountering an opponent like Intentionless Mansion that they could not defeat, admitting defeat was the wisest choice. And no one would look down on Xueqi family. In the second battle, the Wind Sword sect took the field. His opponent also admitted defeat directly. Intentionless Mansion and Wind Sword sect easily obtained a victory. As long as they won 3 consecutive battles, entering the top 6 would not be a problem. Everyone in the Wind Sword sect smiled. Yi Fei's face was also full of smiles. Only one person's face was more ferocious, and that was Yi Qing. Her cultivation was crippled. No matter how good the Wind Sword sect's results were, or how many spots they had, there was no place for her. Thus, her hatred for Yuan Tingting and Lu Ming grew even stronger. The matches were carried out one by one. Sea Cloud sect against Crimson Moon sect. The referee's voice spread far and wide. They actually met Crimson Moon sect in the first battle of the ranking battle. Qiao Long, your winning streak ends here. The Crimson Moon sect leader looked coldly at Qiao Long. Is that so? Don't be like that bag of bones just now. In a sorry state. Qiao Long responded with a sneer, looking at the Iron Bone sect leader. The Iron Bone sect leader was so angry that his teeth itched. He was reprimanded, and Qiao Long dragged him in again, making him and the others depressed. Isn't your Sea Cloud sect relying on that fatty? As long as you send someone to hold him back, the others can easily defeat the rest of the Sea Cloud sect, and then join forces to deal with that fatty. It's easy to win. The Crimson Moon sect leader smiled faintly. Is that so? Qiao Long responded coldly, not saying much. On the battle stage, Lu Ming's group and the Crimson Moon sect's group stood opposite each other. Fatty, the Crimson Moon sect will definitely send that expert at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm to hold you back, and then the others will defeat us and join forces to deal with you. Wait a moment. Don't be too strong. Our target is the Wind Sword sect. If you're too strong and the Wind Sword sect directly admits defeat when they meet us, then it won't be easy. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Kong Jin. Lu Ming, don't worry. Wait a moment, I'll struggle to defeat my opponent. Kong Jin grinned and transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming also smiled faintly. This time, their target was the Wind Sword sect. If the Wind Sword sect wanted to enter the top 6, they would have to be extremely lucky to meet them later. If they met them earlier, then the Wind Sword sect wouldn't be able to enter the top 6. Do it. In the Crimson Moon sect, the 6 Fingers Loose cultivator lightly shouted, and his figure flashed as fast as lightning, pouncing towards Kong Jin. As for the other 8 people from the Crimson Moon sect, they quickly pounced towards Lu Ming's group. The Crimson Moon sect's strength was very strong. Other than the 6 Fingers Loose cultivator who was at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm, there was also an expert at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm. There were also some other experts, and their overall strength wasn't weak. Set up the formation. Lu Ming roared. The 8 of them set up a large formation, and with a flash of light, a light screen enveloped them. Kill. Kong Jin and the 6 Fingers Loose cultivator engaged in an intense battle, and the other people from the Crimson Moon sect also attacked. Boom. Boom. The experts of the Crimson Moon sect attacked them with all kinds of attacks, but their battle formation was obtained from the inheritance that Lu Ming sealed in his mind by Liao Tsong, and it was extremely exquisite. In addition, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing slightly burst out with some of their strength, and combined with the battle formation, they blocked the attacks of the Crimson Moon sect. As for Kong Jin, he intentionally suppressed his strength and fought to a draw with the Six Fingers Loose cultivator. Chapter 773. But this was enough to shock the other forces. I didn't expect the Ocean Cloud sect to be so strong. That fatty's battle prowess is indeed equivalent to the fourth layer of the spiritual ocean realm. He can actually tie with the Six Fingers Man. How terrifying! Moreover, the Ocean Cloud sect's battle formation is so powerful and mysterious. It's a pure defensive battle formation. The 8 of them cooperated seamlessly and blocked the Crimson Moon sect's attack. Did you see it? Those 2 youths aren't simple either. First layer of the spiritual ocean realm and peak second layer of the spiritual ocean realm battle prowess. They're almost at the level of geniuses. How did the Sea Cloud sect manage to invite such people? There were many discussions all around. But they didn't know that whether it was Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, or Kong Jin, they were all suppressing their battle prowess. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing only exploded with the battle prowess of the peak second layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Exploding with the battle prowess of the peak second layer of the spiritual ocean realm at the first layer of the spiritual ocean realm was already comparable to some of the weakest geniuses, such as Qin Qingshan and Gao Chong. But Lu Ming and the other 2 weren't ordinary geniuses. Xian Yanqing and the other 2 each comprehended at least one powerful special concept, and fused at least 2. Adding on their powerful bloodline martial skills and cultivation methods, they were all extraordinary. In addition, they all cultivated the super spiritual ocean secret technique, which doubled the area of their spiritual ocean. Each of their battle prowess was extremely terrifying, and it wasn't hard to kill ordinary 4th-layer spiritual ocean realm warriors. The 2 of them exchanged 100 moves with each other. At this time, Kong Jin roared again and again like a fierce beast. His huge axe chopped crazily, gradually gaining the upper hand. Another dozen moves. The Six Fingers Man spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest was swept by Kong Jin's battle axe, and a deep bloody mark appeared. He was almost split in half. He turned pale with fright, cold sweat dripping down his forehead as he frantically retreated. Dang! Kong Jin held his battle axe and chased crazily. Boom! Another move, and the Six Fingers Man's body was sent flying by Kong Jin's axe, flying out of the battle stage. Flying out of the battle stage, he was defeated. Consider yourself lucky. Kong Jin let out a sinister smile as he raised his battle axe and charged towards the other members of the Crimson Moon sect. Admit defeat, we admit defeat. The other members of the Crimson Moon sect immediately admitted defeat when they saw that the Six-Fingered Wanderer had been defeated. How could they dare to continue fighting? Following the Crimson Moon sect's admission of defeat, the Sea Cloud sect obtained their first victory in the ranking battle. How boring. Kong Jin returned to his seat, took out a large lamb leg, and started to gnaw on it. Haha, as I said, you spoke too early just now. Qiao Long sneered as he looked at the Scarlet Moon sect's sect leader. Humph. The sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect snorted coldly with a gloomy face. The battle strategy of the Sea Cloud Martial School is very simple. They will rely on that defensive array to defend, and in terms of attack they will completely rely on that fatty. That fatty's battle prowess is slightly stronger than the Six Fingers Lone Cultivator. As long as there is an expert stronger than the Six Fingers Lone Cultivator to stall that fatty, or even 2 experts in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean realm to defeat that fatty, then the Sea Cloud Martial School will definitely lose. That's right. The key is that fatty. He's not easy to deal with. This time, the Sea Cloud Martial School will have no problem entering the top 6. That guy Qiao Long is really lucky to have invited such a genius. The leaders of the other forces were whispering to each other. In the Wind Sword Sect's area, Ye Fei and the others were also discussing. Forefather, 2 seniors, if we encounter the Sea Cloud Martial School, do we have a chance of winning? Ye Fei sent a message to the forefather of the Wind Sword Sect and the 2 freaks of Clear River. Don't worry, Sect Leader Yi. This old man's cultivation is stronger than the Six Fingers Lone Cultivator, and it's enough to suppress that fatty. With Brother Yi, it's enough to kill that fatty. At that time, victory will be in our grasp. The leader of the 2 freaks of Clear River said. The Brother Yi he was referring to was the forefather of the Wind Sword Sect. It's more difficult to completely annihilate the Sea Cloud Martial School. As long as we kill that fatty, the others will definitely admit defeat, and then we won't be able to kill more people. The leader of the 2 freaks of Clear River continued. If we can kill that fatty, That's not bad. Yi nodded. He looked in the direction of the Sea Cloud Martial School. For some reason, he still wasn't confident. He was worried about Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Although Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had already displayed battle prowess at the peak of the second layer of the spiritual ocean realm, he still wasn't confident. He himself was at the early stage of the second layer of the spiritual ocean realm, but last time at the Wind Sword sect, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing gave him a very strong pressure. He could vaguely feel that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's battle prowess wasn't just at the peak of the second layer of the spiritual ocean realm. But even if they reached the third layer of the spiritual ocean realm, what use would it be? If the two freaks of Clear River and the forefather killed that fatty, they would definitely win. Yi warned himself in his heart. The competition continued. Soon, the first round was over and they entered the second round. When they encountered the forces of the Intentionless Mansion, they still admitted defeat directly. Wind Sword Sect vs. Sea Cloud Martial School. Suddenly, the referee's voice was heard. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly shone brightly. Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin were the same. They didn't expect to encounter the Wind Sword sect in the second round. How lucky! Lu Ming, are you guys confident? Xiao Xian looked at Lu Ming and the others. The Wind Sword sect had two experts at the fourth layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Don't worry. You don't think I'm not even as good as this fatty, right? Lu Ming chuckled. Kong Jin pursed his lips but didn't refute. Ting Ting, watch. We'll eliminate the two freaks of Clear River in this battle. Lu Ming said to Ruan Tingting with a smile. You guys be careful. Ruan Tingting said softly. Let's go. It's time to fight. Lu Ming smiled and flew onto the fighting ring with Kong Jin and the others. The people of the Wind Sword sect also went onto the fighting ring. I advise you to admit defeat as soon as possible, hee. The leader of the two freaks of Clear River chuckled coldly. His eyes stared at Xian Yanqing with evil fire burning in them. Old man, hurry up and admit defeat. Wait a minute, my big axe doesn't recognize people. Kong Jin waved the battle axe in his hand and sneered. Fatty, Shao Qing, follow the plan later. Leave the two freaks of Clear River to me. Leave the Wind Sword sect's ancestor to Fatty. Shao Qing, you're in charge of shutting the others up. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Kong Jin and Xian Yanqing. The two nodded. Hee, since that's the case then die. The two freaks of Clear River revealed cold murderous intent. Their figures flashed and pounced on Kong Jin. At the same time, the Wind Sword sect's ancestor also pounced on Kong Jin. As for the others, they pounced on Lu Ming and the others. Swish! At this moment, everyone saw a figure flash and suddenly appear in front of the leader of the two freaks of Clear River. Old man, I'll send you on your way today. Lu Ming sneered. Just you? Dang. The two freaks of Clear River shouted coldly and struck a palm at Lu Ming. Their cultivation of the fourth layer of the spiritual sea realm burst out and was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming smiled faintly and threw out a punch. Boom! A huge explosion sounded. The leader of the two freaks of Clear River trembled and took 2 steps back. How could this be? Chapter 774. All around, the spectators were even more shocked. First of all, Lu Ming suddenly rushed out and appeared in front of the leader of the two freaks of Qing River, which already shocked many people. In their opinion, shouldn't Lu Ming stay in the battle formation and focus on defense? Wasn't the main battle force of the Ocean Cloud sect that fatty? But then, Lu Ming defeated the leader of the two freaks of Qing River with one move, which almost made the others jump up in shock. Hiding his strength. Lu Ming definitely hid his strength before. His true battle strength was actually so powerful that he could defeat the leader of the two freaks of Qing River with one move. One should know that the leader of the two freaks of Qing River was even stronger than the 6 Fingers Loose cultivator. Many people understood that they had underestimated the strength of the Ocean Cloud sect. To be precise, they had underestimated the strength of those few youngsters. They didn't show it just now because they didn't need to. Wang. At this moment, Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon Force Field had already enveloped the other members of the Wind Sword sect. The terrifying pressure suddenly pressed down, making the speed of those from the Wind Sword sect as slow as a turtle. Haha, kill. Kong Jin laughed and swung his battle axe. The Wind Sword sect's ancestor's body trembled violently as he staggered back, his face pale. Come in together. Boom, boom. Lu Ming punched out with both fists. 2 rays of fist light, One headed towards the leader of the two freaks of Qing River, and the other headed towards the second brother. The second brother of the two freaks of Qing River was only at the peak of the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. He was sent flying by one punch and coughed out blood. Kill! An even more terrifying fistlight followed, drowning the second brother of the two freaks of Qing River. The second brother of the two freaks of Qing River screamed as his body was blasted apart by Lu Ming's fist force. He died on the spot. Second brother. The leader of the two freaks of Qing River roared. His eyes were red as he unleashed all of his strength and attacked Lu Ming. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you. The sword qi in the leader's hand was like a river, gushing towards Lu Ming. The sharp qi spread out and cut open the space. It's your turn now. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he struck out with his palm. The hell-suppressing heaven art was activated, and his palm was like a heavenly steel. Bang! The river of sword qi collapsed, and the suppressing hell heavenly skill suppressed everything. The two freaks of Qing River screamed in agony as they retreated, blood gushing out of their mouths. How could this be? He roared madly, looking at Lu Ming with eyes full of disbelief and fear. His cultivation had already reached the middle stage of the fourth layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and his battle prowess was not weak, but he was actually not Lu Ming's match and was completely crushed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming was only in the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier, so how could there be such a monster? His heart trembled. In the next moment, he heard a shriek. On the other side, the Wind Sword Sect Master was in an even worse state. One of his arms was chopped off by Kong Jin, and his entire body was covered in blood. The strength that Kong Jin displayed was even stronger than when he fought against Six-Fingered Wanderer. All around, everyone was shocked to the extreme. The strength that Lu Ming had displayed was extremely shocking. He had completely suppressed the leader of the Clear River twin monsters. Even the strength that Kong Jin displayed was even stronger than before. Hiding their strength. Previously, they had all hidden their strength. Even Kong Jin had not used his full strength before. In the Crimson Moon Sex area, Six-Fingered Wanderer's face was a little pale. He originally thought that Kong Jin's battle prowess was stronger than his, but not by much. But now, he understood that Kong Jin was just pretending. In the Intentionless Mansion, many of the Intentionless Mansion's experts had serious expressions. Fatty, send them on their way. Lu Ming sneered and strode forward, striking down with his palm. A terrifying pressure suddenly exploded, as if it was going to suppress and crush the leader of the Clear River twin monsters. Pang! The leader of the Clear River twin monsters tried his best to resist, but one of his arms was directly shattered. On the other side, the Wind Sword Sect's elder was even more miserable. A deep wound appeared on his chest, and he was almost split in half by Kong Jin. Admit defeat. We admit defeat. I admit defeat. The leader of the Clear River twin monsters and the elder of the Wind Sword Sect both roared. Kill. Kill. Lu Ming and Kong Jin continued to charge forward. Why aren't you guys stopping? We've already admitted defeat. The elder of the Wind Sword Sect roared. What a joke. Now, there are 8 of you left. More than half of you have to admit defeat for it to be effective. Only 2 of you have admitted defeat. Lu Ming sneered. You guys, hurry up and admit defeat. The leader of the Clear River twin monsters felt the murderous intent from Lu Ming and was about to cry. He roared at the other members of the Wind Sword Sect. However, the other members of the Wind Sword Sect were having a hard time. They were enveloped by Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon Force Field. Most importantly, it contained a terrifying destructive force. They felt that they would be killed in the next moment. Moreover, as soon as they opened their mouths and shouted a word, the terrifying destructive force would strike at their mouths. It was impossible for them to speak. They were anxious, but they couldn't utter a word. It seems like they don't want to admit defeat. Lu Ming sneered and stepped forward. A terrifying pressure was exerted on the Clear River twin monsters. Cheating, they're cheating. Referee, we admit defeat. We want to admit defeat. On the spectator stand, Yi Ji stood up and roared crazily. You didn't even participate in the battle. What's the point of admitting defeat? Lu Ming looked at him from the corner of his eye and said coldly, they're about to admit defeat. You guys are the ones who are controlling them. You guys are cheating. Yi Fei's heart was burning with anxiety as he shouted loudly. According to the rules, you have to admit defeat personally to be considered as admitting defeat. In the sky, the referee said coldly. In his eyes, Lu Ming and the others were interesting. The referee couldn't be bothered with the life and death of the ants from the Wind Sword sect. He was only going by the rules. The referee's words made Yi Ji's face turn pale. Poof! On the battle stage, Kong Jin's roar was like thunder. He swung his battle axe, and the Wind Sword sect's patriarch was split in half. Bam! Lu Ming's palm landed on the chest of the Clear River twin monsters. The terrifying force shattered the heart and organs of the leader of the Clear River twin monsters. The Clear River twin monsters roared with unwillingness in their eyes. This time they weren't here to die. Yi Ji had paid a heavy price to invite them here. If they knew that they would die, they definitely wouldn't have come. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The leader of the Clear River twin monsters roared with unwillingness and died. Lu Ming moved his hand and put away the storage ring of the Clear River twin monsters. He devoured the essence blood. Then, his body flashed, and the essence blood of the Wind Sword sect's patriarch and the second leader of the Clear River twin monsters were also devoured. At this moment, the remaining people who were enveloped by Xian Yanqing's sky demon power field were so scared that their faces turned pale. Their bodies trembled, and they broke out in cold sweat. The Clear River twin monsters and the Wind Sword sect's patriarch were both killed. Was it time to kill them next? Yet, they couldn't admit defeat. All of their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with pleading. Shao Qing, kill those at the third level of the spiritual ocean realm. Leave the rest to Ting Ting. Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded. She pressed her hand down, and the destructive cutting force suddenly increased by several times. Poof, poof. Chapter 775. Only 4 martial artists below the third layer of the spiritual ocean realm were left on the battle ring, looking at Lu Ming's group in horror. Bang! In the spectator seats, in the Wind Sword sect's area, Yi Fei seemed to be drained of energy as he slumped on the chair. His eyes were filled with despair. Finished. The Wind Sword sect was finished. The 2 monsters of Clear River that he paid a huge price to invite died in battle, and the Wind Sword sect's ancestor was killed. The Wind Sword sect was finished for this competition. They only needed to win 2 more battles to get into the top 6 and at least get 3 spots. But now there was no hope at all. They were already eliminated early. All their plans and arrangements were for naught. This wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that the Wind Sword sect's ancestor was killed, and 2 other experts in the third layer of the spiritual ocean realm were also killed. The Wind Sword sect's strength plummeted, becoming the weakest among all the forces around the gathering luxury city. In the future, how could the Wind Sword sect compete with other forces? They were destined to decline. All of this was because of Lu Ming's group. No, all of this was because of Ruan Tingting. Yi Fei looked at Ruan Tingting's figure in the Ocean Cloud sect's direction. All of this was because of this woman. They wanted to sacrifice Ruan Tingting's happiness and marry her to the 2 monsters of Clear River, which led to all of this. Immediately after, he recalled that when he proposed to marry Ruan Tingting to the 2 monsters of Clear River, Ruan Tingting said that she could ask a few friends to help the Wind Sword sect participate in the competition. As for her friends, they were undoubtedly Lu Ming and the rest. Unfortunately, he didn't believe it at all. Not only did he reject Ruan Tingting, he even offended Lu Ming's group and sent them to the Ocean Cloud sect. The Ocean Cloud sect was only a small force, but because of Lu Ming's group joining, it had limitless glory. And all of this should have belonged to the Wind Sword sect. If Lu Ming's group joined, there would be no need for the 2 monsters of Clear River. In addition, with the Wind Sword sect's own strength, they would have a high chance of getting first place. Unfortunately, all of this was just an if. Everything was destroyed by his own hands. At this moment, Yi Fei's mouth was filled with bitterness. He regretted it, but he knew that everything could not be undone. Yi Qing was also dumbfounded. She had never expected this outcome. The strength of Lu Ming and the others had exceeded her expectations. She knew that she would never be able to take revenge in this lifetime. Lu Ming and the rest were not on the same level as her. They were not in the same world. As for the Sea Cloud sect's area, it was the complete opposite of the Wind Sword sect's. Xiao Long was so excited that he laughed heartily. Ting Ting, look. Lu Ming and the others killed the 2 freaks of Qing River. Xiao Xian held Ruan Tingting's hand tightly. Ruan Tingting's eyes were filled with gratitude. She knew that Lu Ming and the others were doing this for her sake. Thank you. I will work hard in my cultivation. As for the rest, I will settle it myself, Ruan Tingting whispered. On the side, the Ironbone faction and Crimson Moon sect had fought against the Sea Cloud sect. They rejoiced in their hearts, but they were also afraid. Just now, they had actually looked down on the Sea Cloud sect and Lu Ming's group. They were clearly top-notch geniuses. We admit defeat. Admit defeat. On the battle ring, Xian Yanqing withdrew his Sky Demon power field, and the remaining 4 people shouted crazily. But no one was paying attention to them anymore. Almost all eyes were on Lu Ming, Kong Jin, and Xian Yanqing. They knew that Xian Yanqing was not to be underestimated. He actually controlled 6 experts by himself, and they couldn't even call out to admit defeat. Then, with a light wave of his hand, he took care of 2 experts in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm. His methods were simply unpredictable and chilling. On the battle ring, the other 6 people from the Sea Cloud sect looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They understood that they were just here to make up the numbers. They had nothing to do with this competition. The Sea Cloud sect wins. The referee announced the result. Lu Ming returned to his seat and continued to refine the essence blood. Just now, the essence blood of the 5 people from the Wind Sword sect who were killed was all devoured by him. This time, the essence blood was even richer and scarier. 2 in the 4th layer of the spiritual sea realm and 3 in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming refined it with all his strength to improve the prison-suppressing steel bloodline. Next, the competition continued. However, the original 9 forces became 8. The Wind Sword sect was already eliminated, and they were unable to fight anymore. The following competition was much simpler. After witnessing the terror of Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kong Jin, the other forces directly admitted defeat when they met the Sea Cloud sect. The Intentionless Mansion and the Sea Cloud sect maintained a complete victory. When the ranking battle was about to end, the essence blood in Lu Ming's body was completely refined. However, the prison-suppressing steel bloodline showed no signs of advancing. Lu Ming knew in his heart that it wouldn't be that easy, so he wasn't too disappointed. Not sure if it was a coincidence or intentional, the referee left the battle between the Intentionless Mansion and the Sea Cloud sect to the end. The Intentionless Mansion versus the Sea Cloud sect. When the referee said this, everyone present was energized. The Intentionless Mansion had won all the ranking battles until now without a single battle. No one knew how strong the Intentionless Mansion was. On the surface, the Intentionless Mansion had 2 in the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm, and one of them was in the later stage. But they must have asked for external help. The Sea Cloud sect had fought 2 battles and won all the way until now. Who was stronger in the battle between these 2 forces? Everyone was curious. Figures flashed, and both sides stepped onto the battle platform. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kong Jin stood at the front, and the other 6 stood behind. They knew that they were only here to make up the numbers. As long as they defended well, it would be fine. They didn't ask for merit, but to not make any mistakes. The 3 of you are so young and have such battle strength. I am truly impressed. From the Intentionless Mansion, an elegant old man walked out and said with a smile. Lu Ming and the other 2 didn't speak. They just looked at the old man, waiting for him to continue. How about this? Let's treat this battle as a friendly match. How about not killing each other? The elegant old man continued. This elegant old man was the old ancestor of the Intentionless Mansion. Obviously, he was quite wary of Lu Ming and the other 2. Sure. Lu Ming smiled. They had no enmity with the Intentionless Mansion, so there was no need to kill each other. That's great. Get into formation. After the elegant old man finished speaking, the 9 figures of the Intentionless Mansion flashed and formed a large formation. A terrifying aura burst out. 5 elites in the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm, and 1 at the peak of the 4th level. As soon as the aura of the 9 people of the Intentionless Mansion burst out, exclamations came from all around. The Intentionless Mansion was indeed powerful. They actually had 5 elites in the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm. Compared to them, the other forces were too far behind. The remaining 4 were all at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm. A battle formation set up by the few of them together was extremely terrifying. Who could break it? Interesting, let's team up. Lu Ming said. All right. Xian Yanqing nodded. Haha, let's have a good battle. We haven't had a good battle today. Kong Jin laughed loudly and strode forward. Sky Demon Force Field. Chapter 776. Xian Yanqing was the first to strike. He used the heavenly demon power field to shroud his opponent. A terrifying destructive force suddenly erupted. Clang! Clang! The people from Intentionless Mansion activated their battle matrix. Battle sabers condensed and counteracted the invisible destructive force. At that moment, Lu Ming and Kong Jin's figures flashed and entered the heavenly demon power field. Have a taste of my axe, Mad Demon Battle Axe. Kong Jin stepped onto the battle platform, and it rumbled. With each step, his body swelled a little. The battle axe in his hand was as big as a door. It twisted the air into a ball, and like a violent storm, it blasted towards Intentionless Mansion. The earth will and the shattering will merged into Kong Jin's blood meridian martial technique. The terrifying power that could destroy everything made the people from Intentionless Mansion pale. Boom! Lu Ming used the hell-suppressing heaven skill and slashed his palm towards Intentionless Mansion. In comparison, Lu Ming's palm was much more restrained. It looked very ordinary, as if it was just an ordinary palm. However, the people from Intentionless Mansion looked even worse. They could feel that the pressure from Lu Ming's palm was even stronger than Kong Jin's. Block it! The elegant elder shouted. The 9 of them activated their battle matrix. Their auras merged, combining the combat power of the 9 of them into one. They each struck out 2 rays of saber light, slashing towards Lu Ming and Kong Jin. Boom! Boom! There were 2 loud bangs. Lu Ming and Kong Jin did not move at all. On the other hand, the 9 people from Intentionless Mansion staggered backward. Even their battle formation was almost destroyed. They were enveloped by Xian Yanqing's heavenly demon power field and were suppressed. It was difficult for them to use their full combat power. Again! Lu Ming and Kong Jin stepped forward and blasted out another move. The power of this move was stronger than the previous one. Heavenly Demon Hand. This time, Xian Yanqing also blasted out a move. A beautiful arm pressed towards the people from Intentionless Mansion. Boom! 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 The entire battle platform was shaking. The 9 people from Intentionless Mansion were scattered by the violent power. They retreated one after another. The 4 warriors at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood. Haha, amazing. Really amazing. We admit defeat. The elegant elder took a deep breath and calmed his surging blood. He clasped his hands together, but his eyes were filled with shock. The 9 of them joined forces and set up an array, but they were still no match for the 3 of them. The combat power of these 3 youths was terrifying. Thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fists and smiled. The Sea Cloud sect wins this battle. The referee announced. Immediately, cheers rang out from the Sea Cloud sect. Many people's faces flushed with excitement. At the scene, the people from the other forces all let out a sigh of relief, as if they were trying to calm their surging emotions. The Sea Cloud clan had actually defeated the Intentionless House. Before the competition, they would never have thought of this. In the beginning, when the people of Sea Cloud clan went on the stage, everyone saw that there were 3 youths at the 1st level of the spiritual sea realm. No one was optimistic about Sea Cloud clan, thinking that they were just going through the motions. Even if a few people thought that Sea Cloud clan might have invited a prodigy, they would never have thought that Sea Cloud clan could defeat Intentionless Mansion. After all, ordinary prodigies couldn't defeat an expert at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm at the 1st level of the spiritual sea realm. The gap was too big. But in the end, Sea Cloud clan became a dark horse and defeated Intentionless Mansion. There was no doubt that Sea Cloud clan was number 1 this time. According to the results, the top 6 of this competition are out. Sea Cloud clan, number 1, has 8 places. Announced the referee. Cheers came from Sea Cloud clan. Qiao Long was full of excitement. 4 of the 8 places were given to Lu Ming. There were still 4 places left. Before this, he would never have dared to think about it. The other forces cast envious glances at Sea Cloud clan, and Qiao Long Sea Cloud clan was too lucky to get the help of such a prodigy. Why didn't they have such luck? Number 2. Intentionless Mansion, 6 places. The referee announced the top 6 one after another. Number 6, Crimson Moon Clan, number 6, has 3 places in 100 Venerables Mountain. Alright, this competition is over. In the next 2 days, list out the places to enter 100 Venerables Mountain. After 2 days, someone will go to Sea Cloud Clan to get them. After the referee announced, he looked at Lu Ming, Kong Jin, and Xian Yanqing, and then stepped away. With the departure of the referee, this competition also came to an end. Sea Cloud Clan became the biggest winner. The 36 forces dispersed. Lu Ming and the others also returned to Sea Cloud Clan. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. The top 6 forces of the competition sent people to Sea Cloud Clan to wait for the arrival of the messenger. On this day, a young man in a starry robe arrived at Sea Cloud Clan. Qiao Long and the people of the other 6 forces came out to welcome him. Have you prepared the list of the people who will enter 100 Venerables Mountain? Give it to me. The young man had his hands behind his back, looking high and mighty. Qiao Long and the others did not dare to delay and quickly handed over their names. They could tell from the young man's clothes that he was a disciple of the Shangguan clan. The Shangguan clan was one of the strongest clans on this dragon vein, other than the Wang clan. It was also one of the strongest forces in Nine Dragon City, other than the 6 ancient clans. Compared to small forces like them, it was many times stronger. The young man took the name list and glanced at it. He nodded and waved his hand. 8 tokens flew to Qiao Long and said, "These are the 8 tokens to enter 100 Venerables Mountain. Keep them." Qiao Long happily kept them. Then, the young man handed the corresponding tokens to Intentionless Mansion and the other forces. As long as you are under 30 years old, you can enter 100 Venerables Mountain at any time with the tokens. After saying that, the young man stepped into the air and left. After the young man left, Qiao Long went to Lu Ming and the others' residence and handed the 4 tokens to Lu Ming and the others. Little brother Lu Ming, when do you plan to enter 100 Venerables Mountain? I'll let Xian Er and the others go with you? Qiao Long asked. Tomorrow, Lu Ming said. Qiao Long nodded and left. After the young man from the Shangguan clan gave out the tokens, he flew toward the dragon vein. There's someone called Lu Ming in the name list this time. Interesting. Could it be the Lu Ming from the Heavenly King leaderboard? The young man muttered. I heard from Uncle Wuchen that cousin Xingchen has an enemy in Tianxian domain. He's also called Lu Ming. I wonder if it's the same person. Should I tell Uncle Wuchen about this? It's better to tell him. If it's the same person, I don't want to be blamed for not telling him about it. With that thought, the young man flew toward the Shangguan clan. The Wang clan occupied the core position of the dragon vein. However, the Shangguan clan occupied a superior territory. It was one of the best treasured lands. Many majestic mountains rose from the ground. They were lush and green. The spiritual qi was so dense that it was like a mist drifting in the sky. It was like a fairyland. Many palaces were located on the mountain peaks. 2 figures sat in the courtyard of one of the palaces. Chapter 777. They were Shang Xingchen's uncle and mother. At this moment, the 2 were drinking tea in the courtyard. Second brother, how's the investigation on that little bastard Lu Ming going? Is he still in Tianxian domain? Shangguan Wuling asked. Shangguan Wuchen shook his head and said, I've investigated it. That Lu Ming left the Tianxian domain a long time ago and I don't know where he went. However, I'm certain that his relationship with Yan Kuangtu isn't that deep. Back then, Yan Kuangtu stayed in the Tianxian domain for 2 days before leaving alone. That little bastard Lu Ming. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been humiliated in public by Yan Kuangtu. Shangguan Wuling's face was twisted. Little sister, let's forget about Yan Kuangtu. He's one of the highest commanders of the Imperial Sky Guard. Even our old ancestor wouldn't dare to offend him. Shangguan Wuchen's face changed slightly. Second brother, I know that, but we can't let Lu Ming go. Shangguan Wuling said coldly. You don't have to worry about this. That lad Lu Ming is quite talented. He definitely won't miss the Battle of Providence. By then, he might come to Nine Dragon City. As long as he comes to Nine Dragon City, won't he be at our mercy? Shangguan Wuchen took a sip of tea, a cold smile on his face. As they were talking, a young man walked in. He was the one who went to the Sea Cloud sect to give out the 100 Supremes Mountain entrance token. His name was Shangguan Jinhui. Jinhui, why are you here? Aren't you working in the Imperial Sky Guard? Shangguan Wuchen stood up and smiled when he saw the young man. Uncle Wuchen and Aunt Wuling are also here. It just so happens that I have something to discuss with the 2 of you, so I came back on the way. Shangguan Jinhui said. What is it? Shangguan Wuchen was curious. I heard that cousin Xingchen has an enemy in Tianxian domain called Lu Ming, right? Shangguan Jinhui said. Jinhui, do you have news about Lu Ming? Shangguan Wuling's eyes lit up. Shangguan Jinhui nodded and said, this time, I went to the periphery of the Dragon Vein to issue a few small forces a token to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain. Lu Ming's name was in the nomination of one of the forces. Therefore, I wanted to tell you about it. Could it be someone with the same name? Shangguan Wuchen asked. I don't know about that. Shangguan Jinhui shook his head. He was only responsible for issuing the tokens and didn't know anything else. As for the situation of the competition, he naturally didn't know anything about it. Second brother, I plan to go and take a look. What if it's that little bastard? Humph. You want to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain? Dream on. Shangguan Wuling's face twisted. I have delivered your message. Farewell. Shangguan Jinhui cupped his fists and turned to leave. All right, then let's go take a look. If it's that little bastard, I'll just cripple him. Shangguan Wuchen said coldly. Early in the morning on the next day, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, Ruan Tingting, the 4 young men from the Ocean Cloud sect, and Qiao Xian were surprisingly amongst them. The group of 8 flew towards the Dragon Vein. The entrance to the 100 Supremes Mountain was above the Dragon Vein. The Supremes on the 100 Supremes Mountain referred to Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts, and Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts were also called Exalts. Supposedly, not only was the spirit energy of the heavens and the earth extremely dense within the 100 Supremes Mountain, over 100 Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts had left behind their cultivation imprints within the 100 Supremes Mountain. It was even to the extent that some Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts had left behind their inheritances within the 100 Supremes Mountain. In history, some peerless experts were unable to find a suitable successor while they were still alive, so they would leave behind their inheritances through some sort of special method in hopes that a suitable successor would be able to inherit their mantle. So, not only could one utilize the imprints left behind by Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts to comprehend the concepts of the heavens and the earth, it was even to the extent that it was very likely for one to obtain the inheritance of a Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Expert. Some formidable Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm Experts even possessed divine-grade cultivation techniques and martial skills, and it was unavoidable that others were tempted. Lu Ming's group of 8 flew forward at an extremely swift speed. They were able to see an extremely grand and majestic mountain range lying on the ground from afar. This mountain range was the Dragon Vein, and it stretched as far as the eye could see. It was too large and majestic. What dense spirit energy of the heavens and the earth! Lu Ming sighed with admiration. The spirit energy of the heavens and the earth above the Dragon Vein was even denser, and it was a few times denser than the luxury gathering city. Moreover, one could comprehend the concepts of the heavens and the earth even more clearly. The environment was too good, and it was impossible for one's cultivation not to improve while cultivating in such an environment. They flew into the Dragon Vein and flew towards the entrance of the 100 Supremes Mountain. It wasn't long before they arrived at an enormous platform. There was an enormous door of light before the platform, and that was the entrance to the 100 Supremes Mountain. There were experts standing guard before the door of light. Little bastard, is it really you? Right when Lu Ming's group descended onto the platform, a sharp cry resounded. Lu Ming looked towards the source of the voice, and he was stunned. He saw Shangguan Wuchen and Shangguan Wuling. At this moment, Shangguan Wuling was glaring at him with a ferocious expression. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't expect to bump into the Shangguan clan here. Little bastard, you're really something. You actually managed to get a spot to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain after coming to the 9 Dragon City. Shangguan Wuling strode over. At the same time, Shangguan Wuchen also strode over, and there was a tall young man beside them. They stood in front of Lu Ming's group, blocking Lu Ming's path. Get out of the way, you're blocking the way. Lu Ming frowned. Get out of the way? Little bastard, do you know what's in front of you? That's the 100 Supremes Mountain, the sacred cultivation ground of the 9 Dragon City. What about you? Who do you think you are? You're just a kid from a barren mountain in the Tianxian region. What qualifications do you have to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain? Now, hand over your entry token and get lost. Shangguan Wuling said coldly. Back then, Lu Ming had injured Shang Xing in front of everyone, causing Yan Kuangtu to slap her in front of everyone. This was a great humiliation to her. Even after such a long time, she still hated Lu Ming to the core. In addition, she didn't dare to offend Yan Kuang too, so she could only blame everything on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, who is this crazy woman? She must be sick in the head. Kong Jin said unhappily. Just a crazy dog. Let's go. Lu Ming shook his head and walked to the side, trying to bypass Shangguan Wuling and the others. Little bastard, what did you say? How dare you scold me? You're courting death. Shangguan Wuling screamed. Boom. Shangguan Wuchen took a step forward and stood in front of Lu Ming's group. A powerful aura burst out. Second level of the spiritual sea realm. Now, Lu Ming could clearly sense Shangguan Wuchen's cultivation. The corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Second level spiritual sea realm. He could suppress him with a flip of his hand. I advise you to get out of the way. Lu Ming looked at Shangguan Wuchen indifferently. Little bastard, how dare you insult me? Today, none of you can leave. Chapter 778. Shoo. As soon as Shangguan Wuling finished her words, Lu Ming suddenly took a step forward and slapped her. Pa! A loud slap was heard. Shangguan Wuling screamed as her body flew out and landed dozens of meters away. Her hair was disheveled, and one side of her face was swollen. She looked at Lu Ming in shock, completely stunned. Lu Ming dared to slap her? How dare he slap her? She would never have dreamed of that. You're just a mad dog. I gave you face, but you didn't take it. Lu Ming said coldly. Ah! At this moment, Shangguan Wuling finally came to her senses. She screamed hysterically, her eyes full of viciousness. She glared at Lu Ming and shouted, Little bastard, how dare you hit me? I want you dead. I want to skin you alive and pull your tendons. Pa! Lu Ming waved his hand again, and another slap landed on the other side of Shangguan Wuling's face. Immediately, her body flew out again and landed on the ground, puking out blood. She was completely stunned. How dare you? You are looking for death. Shangguan Wuchen roared furiously. He moved his body and slapped Lu Ming with his palm. Pang! Lu Ming took a step forward, and all of Shangguan Wuchen's attacks vanished into thin air. In the next second, he felt his throat tighten. His throat had been gripped by Lu Ming's steel-like claws. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming had broken through all of his attacks and defenses with only one attack, and gripped his throat. Do you still think that I am the old me? Lu Ming gripped Shangguan Wuchen's neck and lifted him up high. Shangguan Wuchen's face was red. He could not use the Zhan Yuan in his body at all, as it had been sealed by Lu Ming. His heart was in a state of turmoil. How long had it been? It had not even been a year. Back in Tianxian region, he was a Sea of Souls realm warrior, looking down on Lu Ming. In his eyes, Lu Ming was like an ant that he could kill easily. But now, he was actually so weak in Lu Ming's hands, unable to resist at all. It was a complete reversal from before. Kid, let go of your hand. Lord Wu Chen is a direct descendant of the Shangguan clan. If anything happens to him, you're dead. A young man who had been following behind Lu Ming released a powerful aura that enveloped Lu Ming. Peak of the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. This youth had the cultivation of the peak of the third layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Really? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. The young man was shocked and shouted, You're bullying the weak because you're strong. What kind of ability is that? If you have the ability, fight me. All right, you are not allowed to kill or fight at the entrance of the 100 Supremes Mountain. If you have any grudges, leave this place or enter the 100 Supremes Mountain to settle them. Right at that moment, an aged voice sounded from the entrance of the 100 Supremes Mountain. The complexion of the Shangguan clan's young man changed when he heard this voice. Then, he restrained his aura. Bang! Lu Ming flung Shangguan Wuchen away. Get out of the way. If you want to find me, I'll be waiting for you at the 100 Supremes Mountain. Lu Ming looked at the young man. Although this young man had the cultivation of the peak of the third layer of the spiritual ocean realm, he didn't give Lu Ming any pressure. Obviously, he wasn't a prodigy. In a superior environment like the Nine Dragon City, some big families like the Shangguan clan, especially the 6 ancient families, definitely had many young men under the age of 30 who had entered the spiritual ocean realm. However, these people weren't prodigies. Their battle power wasn't strong, and their potential was limited. If they really wanted to fight, Lu Ming could suppress them with a flip of his hand. The young man snorted and rushed towards Shangguan Wuchen and the others to check on their injuries. You're so weak, and you want to find trouble? How boring. Kong Jin pursed his lips. They walked towards the entrance. Lu Ming, there are still a few prodigies in the Shangguan clan. You still have to be careful. Qiao Xian reminded him softly. No worries. Lu Ming smiled. He was never afraid of challenges. Only challenges could make him improve faster. The 8 of them showed their tokens and entered the 100 Supremes Mountain without any obstruction. Little bastard, I want him dead. On the platform, Shangguan Wuling screamed. Her face was ferocious like a ghost. Lu Ming dared to slap her. How dare he? Yan Kuangtu dared to slap her, and Lu Ming dared to do the same? Although Shangguan Wuling's cultivation was low, her status wasn't low. She was the daughter of a powerful elder in the Shangguan clan. Who dared to slap her? How about this? Let's go back first. I'll call a few more experts to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain and kill that Lu Ming. The young man said. Okay, let's go back first. Shangguan Wuchen nodded, and the 3 of them flew back to the Shangguan clan. When they arrived at the Shangguan clan, they bumped into a few people. Mother, uncle, what happened to you? Who did this? You're courting death. One of the young men was Shang Xingchen. He saw Shangguan Wuchen and Shangguan Wuling's injuries at a glance. Shangguan Wuling's face was swollen, and it hadn't gone down yet. Shang Xingchen was filled with killing intent. Xingchen, you're out? It's Lu Ming. It's that little bastard Lu Ming. He dared to slap me. Shangguan Wuling shouted. Lu Ming? It's him. Shang Xingchen's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. What's going on? A majestic voice sounded. The one who spoke was a tall and mighty old man. His eyes were sharp, and he looked majestic. This old man was Shangguan Wuchen and Shangguan Wuling's father. He was a powerful elder in the Shangguan clan. Father, it's like this. Shangguan Wuchen explained the matter briefly. Lu Ming is courting death. I'll go to the 100 Supremes Mountain and kill him now. Shang Xingchen's killing intent exploded, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. Shang Xingchen's cultivation had also broken through to the spiritual sea realm. He wasn't in the first level of the spiritual sea realm, but the second level. Xingchen, you shouldn't fight now. Your bloodline is extraordinary. It's the 7-star scroll. If you can awaken the true 7 stars of the Heavenly Dipper realm, it'll definitely be a god-grade bloodline. The most important thing for you now is to go into seclusion and awaken the 3rd bloodline. If you can awaken the god-grade bloodline, you'll be able to enter the ranks of the god-grade supreme talents. Shang Xingchen said in a deep voice. Grandfather, are you going to let Lu Ming go? I can't accept it. Shang Xingchen said. It's nothing compared to awakening the god-grade bloodline. How about this, Jin Ju? Bring a few people and bring Lu Ming's head to me. Shang Xingchen turned around and said to another young man. Elder, don't worry. Lu Ming will die. The young man smiled. Shangguan Wuchen and the others were also delighted. Shangguan Jinjue was a peerless genius of the Shangguan clan. He was ranked 465 on the list of top 1,000 talents. With his help, Lu Ming was doomed. Shangguan Jinjue turned around and left. After Lu Ming and the others stepped through the door, they appeared on another platform. Chapter 779. It was said that the 100 Supremes Mountain was not a plain. It was actually located above the Dragon Vein. However, it was surrounded by a supreme array and was completely isolated. There was only one entrance. Although the 100 Supremes Mountain is called the 100 Supremes Mountain, there are more than 100 Supremes who have left their imprints and inheritances. There are probably a few hundred of them scattered in every corner. Qiao Xian explained. Haha, Lu Ming, it seems like we have to cultivate separately. Let's see who improves faster after some time. Kong Jin laughed. Each of them specialized in different areas and comprehended different intents. Of course, they could not cultivate together. In the 100 Supremes Mountain, they had to find the one that was most suitable for them in order to improve their comprehension. Similarly, they had to rely on luck. All right, let's meet here after some time. Lu Ming nodded. Then, the 8 of them split up and each chose a direction and flew forward. The 100 Supremes Mountain was huge. It was more than 100,000 miles wide and there were countless peaks. No one knew which peak or corner would have the imprints left behind by the Supremes. Moreover, the spiritual qi in the 100 Supremes mountain was unimaginably dense. It was several times denser than the dragon vein outside. Lu Ming felt that the spiritual qi here was almost as dense as a lower spiritual crystal. What did that mean? It was as if the spiritual qi in the heavens and earth were all lower spiritual crystals. In a breath, the spiritual qi in a few lower spiritual crystals would be absorbed. If I cultivate here, I don't even need spiritual crystals. Lu Ming sighed. He was really envious of those people from the big families. However, now was not the time to cultivate. He had to find a suitable imprint and comprehend the intents. That was the key. Lu Ming flew all the way. Soon, he found more than 10 people sitting on the shore of a small lake. Lu Ming landed and discovered that there was a powerful aura emanating from the lake. He sensed it carefully and suddenly felt that there was a giant dragon in the lake that was pouncing towards him. The dragon contained a powerful water intent. Lu Ming stood still and allowed the dragon to charge past him. What a miraculous water concept! It contains the comprehension of a domain-enlightened spirit god towards water concept, and it can be fused with one's own body to draw reference from and comprehend. Unfortunately, I don't cultivate water concept, so I should look elsewhere. Lu Ming did not stop. He soared into the sky and flew towards the distance. Subsequently, he found a few imprints left behind by a spirit god, but they were not suitable for him. Suddenly, Lu Ming noticed a cliff in front of him. There was a cliff. There was a deep mark that seemed to have been left behind by a sword. This cliff was thousands of meters high. In front of the cliff, there were a dozen or so stone pillars that stood on the ground, level with the cliff. There were numerous figures sitting on the stone supremes. Was the one that was supremes that one that was closest to the cliff? Lu Ming flew up and landed on the stone pillar. Concept of wind. As soon as Lu Ming sensed it, he discovered that the carvings on the cliff contained the mysterious concept of wind, and the concept of wind was precisely what Lu Ming needed. When Lu Ming landed, the people on the other pillars opened their eyes. When they saw Lu Ming, their expressions changed slightly. "Brother, I advise you to leave that stone pillar," a young woman said to Lu Ming. "Why?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. "That's because that stone pillar has already been reserved by someone. That person has declared that no one else is allowed to set foot on that stone pillar." The woman explained. "Oh, where is that person?" Lu Ming asked. "That person isn't in the 100 Supremes mountain right now. Maybe he's cultivating somewhere else." Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. "Since it's not here, why can't I use it? Moreover, the 100 Supremes mountain is public land. I've never heard that it belongs to anyone. If he's not here, I can use it." Having said that, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. "Hee lad, I don't mind telling you that that person's name is Miao Yi. He's the youngest son of the Miao family." A cold laugh could be heard from the other stone pillar. "Miao Yi? Miao Yi, number 501 on the list of top 1,000 talents?" Lu Ming's expression changed. "That's right. That's why I advise you to leave. When he comes and sees you up there, you won't have a good ending." The young man sneered. "Then let's wait for him to come," Lu Ming said indifferently. He had no intention of leaving. You're overestimating yourself. When Miao Yi comes, you'll be crying." The young man snorted. Lu Ming paid no further attention to the matters in the surroundings, and his gaze was focused on the mark on the cliff. Slowly, the mark changed in Lu Ming's eyes, and it transformed into a sword. After that, it transformed into a figure that danced about in midair, and every single strike of the sword contained profound wind concept. Even if it was the same type of concept, different people's comprehension of it would be different. How deep was the comprehension of concepts of a domain-enlightened spirit god? Lu Ming used it as a reference to verify his own concepts and seek inspiration to swiftly improve his comprehension of concepts. Once a concept attained the second level, it wasn't something that could be ceaselessly broken through by relying solely on profundity crystals. If one merely relied on profundity crystals, then it was extremely easy to encounter a bottleneck, and one had to comprehend it. So long as one combined profundity crystals with one's own comprehension, then it would be the best path. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed, and Lu Ming obtained a great deal of new comprehensions towards wind concept. He continued cultivating. Day after day passed, and another 4 days passed. Lu Ming had already been here for 7 days. On this day, while Lu Ming was comprehending, he suddenly felt a strand of fierce killing intent envelop him. His gaze flashed as he looked towards the side. A young man in green robes was walking step by step through the air over there. It's Xueqi has come. That kid is in trouble. The people in the surroundings exclaimed in low voices when they saw this person. Especially that young man that said Lu Ming overestimated his ability earlier. He was even slightly taking pleasure in Lu Ming's misfortune. Now you'll be crying. The young man sneered. Xueqi wore a green robe, had his hands behind his back, and had a cold gaze as he walked through the air and appeared not too far away from the stone pillar. Kid, who allowed you to sit on that stone pillar? Didn't anyone tell you that I ordered that stone pillar? Xueqi looked down at Lu Ming from above, and his voice was icy cold and gloomy. It was like a venomous bug that was staring at its enemy, and it caused one's heart to go cold. I've heard of it. Someone told me that when I just arrived. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Since someone told you, you still dared to sit on it. Are you not putting me in your eyes? Now, roll down from there and slap yourself 100 times. Then scram as far as you can. I won't hold this matter against you. Xueqi ordered as if he was ordering a servant. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. This Xueqi was really overbearing. However, when had he, Lu Ming, ever been afraid of others being overbearing? Let me ask you, does this 100 Supremes mountain belong to your Miao family? Lu Ming asked. Of course not. Xueqi said. Since it's not, why are you cultivating here? Don't you know that it's first come, first served? If you want it, wait at the side. Chapter 780. Lu Ming waved his hand casually, as if he was dismissing an underling. The other people on the stone pillars were stunned. Lu Ming dared to talk to Xueqi like that. Who was he? Xueqi's long and narrow eyes flickered with a sinister light as he spat out in a cold voice. Brat, it seems like you still don't understand the meaning of my words. It doesn't matter if this place belongs to the Miao family or not. These words were said by me, Xueqi. Do you understand? Xueqi still had his hands behind his back, looking high and mighty. His words were simple. It didn't matter if this place belonged to the Miao family or not, since he had said so, Lu Ming had to give him face. If he said he would occupy this place, then he would occupy it. Lu Ming pursed his lips. How high did Xueqi's ego have to be? You, Xueqi? What dog shit? Get lost. Lu Ming continued to wave his hand. The others were even more shocked. Lu Ming didn't take Xueqi seriously at all. Few people in 100 Supremes Mountain dared to talk to Xueqi like that. There were many cultivation holy lands in 9 Dragon City. 100 Supremes Mountain was only one of them, and it wasn't very advanced. There were even more advanced and mysterious cultivation holy lands. There were even inheritances left behind by Supremes, and there were even training grounds for Emperor Realm experts. 100 Supremes Mountain couldn't compare at all. However, one had to be qualified to cultivate in such holy lands, and Xueqi didn't have that qualification. Some powerful geniuses cultivated in such holy lands, and Xueqi was one of the more famous geniuses in 100 Supremes Mountain. You'll regret what you said. The killing intent in Xueqi's eyes grew colder. A green light jumped from his body and spread out. Lu Ming actually called him a piece of dog shit and asked him to get lost? Who was he? He was ranked 501st on the list of top 1,000 talents, and the son of the Miao family. The Wang family was the strongest in this dragon vein, and there were 3 powerful forces under them. The Shangguan family was one of them, and the Miao family was another. Even those geniuses who ranked higher than him on the list of top 1,000 talents would not dare to speak to him in such a manner. If you want to fight, then let's fight. What's with all this nonsense? I still need to cultivate. Lu Ming looked at Xueqi indifferently. Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way. On Xueqi's body, green light soared into the sky, emitting a terrifying corrosive aura. It's the concept of poison. Retreat. The expressions of the other young men changed greatly as they quickly backed off, their faces filled with fear. Concept of poison. Interesting. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. There were tens of thousands of concepts in the world, but this was the first time Lu Ming had encountered the concept of poison. Die. Xueqi waved his hands, and a green light mixed with the state of poison turned into a 100-legged green centipede. Then it pounced at Lu Ming. Peak of the second layer of the spiritual ocean tier. As soon as Miao Yi made his move, Lu Ming discovered that Miao Yi's cultivation was at the peak of the second layer of the spiritual ocean tier, more than one level higher than him. Boom! Lu Ming threw out a punch. The terrifying fist energy of the exploding star fist pierced through the air and blasted towards the green centipede. Sizzle! When the fist energy of the exploding star fist collided with the green centipede, a terrifying scene appeared. The fist energy actually made a sizzling sound as it was quickly corroded by the green light. The concept of poison was actually corroding the fist energy. Haha, my concept of poison can corrode everything. It can even corrode qi and zhan yuan. You're only at the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier, yet you dare to fight me? Dang! Miao Yi sneered. The mist on his body became thicker. He threw out a palm, and another green centipede pounced at Lu Ming. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly and stepped forward. Boom! 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 4 consecutive booms sounded in the sky. The 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps took 4 steps in a row, and a violent power surged out. The 2 poisonous centipedes directly burst apart. You have some skills. Sky centipede devouring sky palm. Seeing the 2 centipedes being shattered by Lu Ming, Miao Yi's face darkened. His palms turned dark green, and seemed to be covered with lines, which were the figures of centipedes. The surging palm print blasted out. The powerful corrosive power made the space sizzle. Miao Yi's concept of poison was a headache for many people. Many people stronger than him didn't want to fight him. However, he met Lu Ming. Lu Ming directly stepped out. The 3 concepts of wind, fire, and thunder burst out as he threw out a palm attack. Boom! Miao Yi's palm print was shattered, but it immediately turned into a green mist and spread out, enveloping Lu Ming. This was a poisonous mist, full of strong corrosiveness. Devour! Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline. A powerful devouring power burst out from his left palm. The poisonous mist was devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline as soon as it approached Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure rushed out, and a long spear appeared in his hand. The bright spear light pierced towards Miao Yi. What's going on? Miao Yi's face changed. Lu Ming didn't fear his concept of poison, and directly rushed over. Miao Yi's figure instantly turned into a phantom, and quickly retreated. In the next moment, a cold light bloomed from Miao Yi's hand, stabbing towards Lu Ming. Concept of wind. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Miao Yi had also comprehended the concept of wind, and now it had reached the second level. However, Miao Yi's concept of wind and concept of poison had not merged successfully. A cold light slashed towards Lu Ming's neck. Lu Ming's long spear swept out. Dang! The long spear and the cold light clashed, and a loud boom was heard, and the cold light bounced back. Lu Ming finally saw that the cold light wasn't a blade, nor was it a sword. It was a centipede made of metal. This centipede was similar to a soft whip, but it was more mysterious. It could grow, break, and turn. Its attack was unpredictable. On both sides, there were many centipede legs. They were like sharp blades, and they cut through the air, making sharp whistling sounds. Miao Yi waved his hand, and the centipede-like weapon cut through the air, attacking Lu Ming. Its position was constantly changing, making ear-piercing sounds. Using the concept of wind, Lu Ming's figure changed rapidly, avoiding the centipede's attack, and attacking Miao Yi. True Dragon Strike. The long spear stabbed out, and a 3-colored true dragon roared, pouncing towards Miao Yi. Although Lu Ming had comprehended the 4th concept, he hadn't merged it into the 3 unique skills of the dragon god. Therefore, the attack he launched was still 3-colored. When Lu Ming merged the concept of earth into the 3 unique skills of the dragon god, the 3 unique skills of the dragon god would evolve into a demigod-level martial skill. During this time, Lu Ming had tried it whenever he had time, but he hadn't succeeded yet. Miao Yi's face changed, and he quickly withdrew the centipede weapon, attacking the 3-colored true dragon. With a loud boom, Miao Yi's body trembled, and he retreated continuously. Chapter 781. However, his poison essence was ineffective against Lu Ming, and his combat strength was greatly reduced. Lu Ming did not even use his hell-suppressing skill or earth essence to completely suppress him. You think you're the best in the world with such little combat strength? Shame on you. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Lu Ming used the 9 dragon sky stomping steps and quickly approached Miao Yi, striking out with his palm. The hell-suppressing skill. Miao Yi's expression changed as soon as he struck out, for he felt a terrifying pressure. This pressure made him feel apprehensive. Block it! He quickly withdrew his centipede weapon. The centipede weapon formed a circle in front of him, blocking his front like a shield. Bam! Lu Ming's palm struck the centipede weapon's shield. The centipede weapon's shield was instantly shattered. Miao Yi's body shook violently, and he coughed up blood. His body flew backward like a cannonball. Boy, I won't let you off! Miao Yi roared and turned into a beam of green light, fleeing into the distance. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly, but he did not chase after him. After all, Miao Yi was the son of the head of the Miao family. Although it was inappropriate for the elders of the Miao family to intervene in the battles between young people before the Battle of Providence, if they really killed Miao Yi, the head of the Miao family might go crazy. However, if Miao Yi did not know when to back down, Lu Ming did not mind finding a chance to kill him. At this moment, more than a dozen people were watching this scene with their mouths agape. Lu Ming had defeated Miao Yi. Miao Yi was ranked 501 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Was Lu Ming in the top 500? Lu Ming's gaze was cold as he swept his gaze across the dozen of people. Among them, the young man who said he wanted to see how Lu Ming would cry turned pale. Lu Ming took a step forward and suddenly appeared in front of the young man. You said you wanted to see how I would cry? What do you think? Do you like it? Lu Ming asked indifferently. That. Brother, I was blind. I didn't know you were so powerful. Haha. The young man was drenched in cold sweat as he spoke incoherently. Scram! Lu Ming coldly shouted. The young man's expression turned ugly, but he didn't dare to refute at all. He turned around and flew away obediently. Lu Ming continued to descend on the stone pillar and began to comprehend. Half a day later, Lu Ming got up and left. He had already stayed here for 7 days, which was enough. He wanted to find the next imprint. Only when multiple imprints corroborated with each other could inspiration be stimulated and create even more brilliant sparks. A few hours later, Lu Ming appeared in another place. It was a small valley, and there was also an imprint inside. This mark contained the concept of fire. Lu Ming began to comprehend quietly. At this moment, 2 groups of people were searching for Lu Ming in the 100 Supremes Mountain. On one side was Shangguan Jinjue. He had brought several young experts from the Shangguan clan to search for Lu Ming. Those young experts were all at the 5th level of the spiritual sea realm. Although they weren't geniuses, it wasn't easy for them to cultivate to this level before the age of 30. Their battle strength was considered high among those at the same level. On the other side was Miao Yi. After he returned to the Miao clan, he also found a few experts to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain to search for Lu Ming. Lu Ming didn't know anything about this. He stayed in the valley for 3 days and left again. He found a secret place and entered the Temple of Supremes. After this period of time, he had comprehended the 2 concepts of wind and fire. Now, he needed to use the profound crystals to increase his cultivation speed. Sitting cross-legged by the path understanding ancient tree, Shi crushed a wind profound crystal and began to cultivate. Now, he still had more than 10 mid-grade profound meaning crystals. Lu Ming crushed them one by one. His wind concept improved rapidly. Now that Lu Ming's wind concept had reached level 2, the rate of consumption of the esoteric crystals increased tremendously. In less than a day, more than 10 esoteric crystals of the wind attribute were used up. Then, Lu Ming used the low-grade profound crystals to cultivate. Lu Ming's consumption of low-grade profound crystals was much faster. He smashed dozens of them one by one. 3 days later, Lu Ming had consumed more than 10,000 low-grade profound crystals. His wind wills had finally reached the peak of the 2nd level. He was only 1 step away from the 2nd level. However, he was stuck at this step. It wasn't something that could be broken through with the profound crystals. He could only rely on himself to comprehend it. Putting the wind wills aside for now, Lu Ming took out the fire profound crystals and started cultivating. 3 days later, the fire profound crystals were all used up. At the same time, Lu Ming had consumed a large amount of low-grade profound crystals. His fire wills had also reached the peak of the 2nd level, but he had also reached a bottleneck. Let's go out and find a mark to comprehend. Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and searched for a suitable mark in the 100 Sovereigns Mountain. In the following days, Lu Ming would refine the earth-profound crystals whenever he had time. He would find a suitable mark and comprehend it on the spot. Every few days, he would change his position. The 100 Sovereigns Mountain was filled with mountains and peaks. It wasn't easy to find a person. During this time, Shangguan Jinjue and Miao Yi had been searching for him, but they hadn't found him. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Lu Ming had been in the 100 Sovereigns Mountain for a month now. There was still 1 year and 2 months until the War of Luck. What dense spiritual energy! Looking at the pool in front of him, Lu Ming was a little shocked. He had been searching for a mark left behind by a supremacy in a barren mountain. After passing through a hidden gap in the cliff, he actually saw a pool that was completely formed by spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in the pool had turned into liquid. Lu Ming felt that the spiritual energy in the pool was comparable to a high-grade spiritual crystal. I can cultivate here and break through to the second level of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming smiled. During this time, although his wind and fire wills were still at the peak of the second level, his earth wills had also reached the peak of the second level through the earth-profound crystals. Only his thunder wills were slower, reaching the late stage of the second level. Now, breaking through to the second level of the spiritual sea realm wasn't a problem at all. Plop! Lu Ming jumped into the pool and the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. He opened his mouth and inhaled. The dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged towards the 9 dragons' bloodline. It was as if Lu Ming was exploding countless spiritual crystals to cultivate. Lu Ming circulated the true dragon battle art and refined it into true origin. Walala! In the spiritual sea, true origin was like a wave that kept rolling. As the spiritual energy was continuously converted into true origin, the true origin kept getting stronger. 3 days later, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the entire pool was completely devoured and refined by Lu Ming. Rumble! In his dantian, the sound of waves crashing against the shore could be heard. Waves of terrifying aura spread out from Lu Ming's body. After a while, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Second level of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Wills are still in the middle stage. As long as all 4 wills reach the lower stage of the second level and have enough spiritual crystals or origin stones, I can break through to the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm or even the 4th level in one go. Chapter 782. A day later, Lu Ming appeared on top of a mountain peak. There was actually a huge spear on this mountain peak. The spear was dark red and emitted a blazing flame aura. There were at least 100 figures sitting around the spear. These people all cultivated the concept of fire. Lu Ming asked the person next to him. It was said that this long spear was a weapon used by a peak spirit god in the past. The long spear was scrapped after a great battle. That powerful cultivator then stuck the scrapped long spear upside down here. But this spear still contained the concept of fire that expert had comprehended. It hadn't dissipated even after 1,000 years. It could be said that this was a holy land for cultivating the concept of fire. Lu Ming looked around for a while, then chose a place and sat down. But he didn't notice that not far from Lu Ming, there was a youth carefully sizing him up. His eyes flickered. In this period of time, Shangguan Jinjue and Miao Yi have been looking for a youth. A few days ago, Shangguan Jinjue came here. According to their description, this person is very similar. Hee, I'll pass this information to Shangguan Jinjue and Miao Yi. They'll probably get a lot of rewards. The youth sneered. He took out a sound transmission jade talisman and sent out 2 messages. On top of a mountain peak, Shangguan Jinjue stood with his hands behind his back. Suddenly, his expression changed and a jade talisman appeared in his hand. He scanned it with his mind and sneered. Kid, I've finally found you. Let's go. His figure flashed and disappeared. In the sky above a mountain range, Miao Yi was flying with a few people. Suddenly, a sound transmission jade talisman appeared in his hand. After scanning it with his mind, a sinister expression appeared on his face. Kid, I found you. You dared to offend me. Let's see how you die. Immediately, Miao Yi led a few people in the direction of Lu Ming. Lu Ming quietly comprehended. The owner of this spear was extremely powerful. His comprehension of the concept of fire had also reached a shocking level. It was a great inspiration to Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt that his concept of fire could break through the bottleneck at any time and enter the second level of the concept of fire. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been cultivating here for an entire day. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a terrifying killing intent. A sharp sword Qi was stabbing towards him. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming's figure flickered and moved several meters to the side. Puchi! A sharp sword Qi struck the place where Lu Ming had been sitting cross-legged, creating a bottomless hole. The others nearby were also shocked. They all stopped their cultivation and appeared in the air. Although they were comprehending the concept of fire here, every single one of them had separated a portion of their attention to observe their surroundings. After all, they had to be on guard against others. Lu Ming moved a few meters to the side. His figure flashed and appeared in the air. His cold gaze swept over in a certain direction. It was a tall young man in a starry robe with an extraordinary bearing. Behind him were 3 young men around the age of 28 or 29, and all of them wore starry robes. Who are you? Why did you sneak attack me? Lu Ming asked. He didn't know any of these people, but they wanted to kill him. Before the young man in the starry robe could speak, exclamations could be heard from the surroundings. It's him, Shangguan Jinjue. He's here again. He came here a few days ago. Could it be that he's here to find this person? It can't be wrong. Who is this person? He actually offended the Shangguan clan and made Shangguan Jinjue search for him. The words of the surrounding people made Lu Ming understand. They were probably here for Shangguan Wuchen and the others. Why? You dare to injure a direct descendant of the Shangguan clan. You deserve to die. Now I'm here to take your head back. Shangguan Jinjue's eyes flashed with starry light as he spoke in a domineering manner. Take my head? Ha ha ha, I've already been merciful to those guys. In your eyes, it's a death sentence. Well, it seems that if I don't show some thunderous means, everyone will think that I'm easy to bully. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. After he came to Nine Dragon City, his means were much gentler. It was mainly because he was new here, and this place was full of great forces and great clans. His strength was too weak, so he planned to keep a low profile and endure, using the cultivation resources of Nine Dragon City to quickly increase his strength. But now, he realized that enduring wasn't a solution. The more you endure and the gentler your means, the more others would bully you. Haha, ridiculous. Who do you think you are? You dare to compare yourself with a direct descendant of the Shangguan clan? Kill him. Shangguan Jinjue waved his hand, and 3 young men behind him strode out, their bodies emitting bright starry light. The bloodlines awakened by the Shangguan clan's disciples were all related to stars. There were all kinds of stars. All kinds of stars appeared above the heads of the 3 young men. There was a battle blade star, a giant sword star, and a flying bird star. Kill! With a loud shout, the 3 young men strode out. Dazzling starry light condensed into battle blades, giant swords, and flying birds, charging towards Lu Ming. The 3 young men were all experts in the 5th layer of the spiritual sea realm. If you want to kill me, then you have to be prepared to be killed by me. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and the true yuan in his body exploded, creating a sound like a tsunami. His palms struck out like a heavenly monument. Pang! A starry battle blade shattered, and that young man's chest caved in. With a scream, he was blasted to the ground, dying on the spot. Who? Immediately after, Lu Ming twisted his body and swept out a leg. This leg was also propelled by the suppressing Hell Heaven skill. The giant sword shattered, and that young man's body exploded. 2 moves killed 2 people consecutively, with the momentum of thunder. The remaining young man turned pale with fright. He used all his strength to counterattack, retreating madly. Extreme Dao Strike. A spear light flashed by, and a big hole appeared between the young man's eyebrows. His eyes were wide open, full of unwillingness. Seasai! Gasps could be heard from all around. 3 experts in the 5th layer of the spiritual sea realm were killed by Lu Ming in 3 moves. This was too terrifying. Most importantly, Lu Ming was decisive and didn't show any mercy. Shangguan Jinjue's pupils also constricted. Lu Ming's battle prowess was beyond his imagination. I said before, if you want to kill me, then you have to be prepared to be killed by me. Now it's your turn. Lu Ming's gaze looked towards Shangguan Jinjue. Your battle prowess is not bad, exceeding my expectations. That's good. Killing like this will be more enjoyable. Cruelty flashed in Shangguan Jinjue's eyes, and a fierce star power spread out from his body. Ew! Above Shangguan Jinjue's head, a giant star wolf howled at the sky, revealing its ferocity. This was the greedy wolf star, an extremely powerful star in the legends. Sky Wolf Slash. A battle blade appeared in Shangguan Jinjue's hand, and with a slash, the wolf howled, and the sky was filled with starlight. Without a doubt, Shangguan Jinjue also comprehended the concept of stars. Pang! Lu Ming took a step forward and struck out with a palm. The palm collided with the blade light, and a violent explosion sounded. Chapter 783. Shangguan Jinjue was at the peak of the third LV of the spiritual sea realm. Shangguan Jinjue's martial arts technique was obviously at the demigod level. Shangguan Jinjue ranked 465th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Boom! After the two separated, they started fighting again. Sky Wolf Slash, slash all lives. Shangguan Jinjue was bathed in the light of the stars. He looked like a god who had descended to earth. He slashed out with his saber, and the sky wolf howled at the moon. If they were at the same level, Shangguan Jinjue's combat strength would be higher than Miao Yi's. Every 100 people on the list of top 1,000 talents represented a leap in strength. Shangguan Jinjue ranked in the top 500, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming activated the hell-suppressing skill, and the genuine core power in his body burst out. Every palm and punch contained the power of hell. He fought fiercely with Shangguan Jinjue. The violent energy swept out in all directions, causing the spectators to retreat frantically. Some of the energy blasted toward the mountain peak, but the long spear on the peak emitted a red light. The energy blasted away like stones sinking into the sea, and did not cause the slightest movement. So powerful. Is this the combat strength of the top 500 on the list of top 1,000 talents? It's terrifying. Yes, the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents is a hurdle. Who is that? He can actually fight with Shangguan Jinjue. Exclamations came from all around. Most importantly, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the second LV of the spiritual sea realm. It was terrifying for him to be so powerful. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. Is this the combat strength of the top 500 on the list of top 1,000 talents? He's indeed powerful, but this is the end. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly waved his palm. 4 kinds of light flashed out. Lu Ming's palm contained 4 kinds of artistic conception. Previously, Lu Ming had only released 3 kinds of artistic conception, the earth essence. He also wanted to test the strength of the top 500 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Now that he had tested them out, it was time to end the battle. Bang! Shangguan Jinjue's saber light shattered. Shangguan Jinjue looked horrified. He frantically retreated and blocked with his saber. Clang! Lu Ming's palm slammed into Shangguan Jinjue's battle saber. It was as if an ancient divine mountain had slammed into Shangguan Jinjue. Shangguan Jinjue's body trembled violently as he spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated madly. How is that possible? You were still holding back? Shangguan Jinju roared in disbelief. Lu Ming was only in the second layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and when he fought with him just now, he actually held back his strength. As proud as he was, it was simply unbearable. I don't need to use my full strength to deal with you. Lu Ming strode forward and struck out with his palm. Shangguan Jinjue let out a long howl. Astral light filled the air, and the howl of a wolf shook the heavens. He wanted to counterattack, but Lu Ming's 4 concepts were too powerful. Even though Shangguan Jinjue's concept of stars had already reached the second level of large success, he still couldn't withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Bang! Shangguan Jinjue's body was sent flying. A large hole appeared in his chest, and his bones were shattered. He coughed out large mouthfuls of blood, and his eyes were filled with terror. Stop! You win this battle. Let's fight another day. Shangguan Jinjue roared and retreated rapidly, wanting to leave. Laughable! Who wants to fight another day with you? Coming and going as you please? What do you take me for? Since you're here today, don't leave. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and moved forward rapidly, his eyes cold. You want to kill me? You have to understand that if you kill me, you'll have to wait for my Shangguan clan's crazy revenge. Shangguan Jinjue said coldly, actually threatening him. That's my business. You don't have to worry about it. Lu Ming's eyes were calm, unmoved. Today, he was determined to kill Shangguan Jinjue. These disciples of great clans were all the same. Today, Lu Ming killed 3 Shangguan clan youths and defeated Shangguan Jinjue in front of everyone. Even if he let Shangguan Jinjue go, he would still take revenge, so it was better to just kill him. Seeing this, Shangguan Jinjue was truly afraid now. He understood that he had encountered a ruthless person. Run, run, run. Shangguan Jinjue frantically ran away. But how fast was Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps? After a few steps, he caught up with Shangguan Jinjue and continued to press down on him. Shangguan Jinjue roared and resisted with all his might. In the next moment, one of his arms was shattered. Dang! Lu Ming's palm struck towards Shangguan Jinjue's head. Miao Yi brought a few youths and rushed towards Lu Ming's direction. We're almost there. This time, I'll put that brat between life and death. Miao Yi's eyes flashed with crazy killing intent. There's a big battle ahead. Suddenly, he heard a rumbling sound coming from ahead. Let's go and take a look. Miao Yi brought a few youths and increased his speed, flying forward. Not long after, he saw Shangguan Jinjue running away in fear, with a person chasing after him. That's Shangguan Jinjue and that brat. Miao Yi's pupils shrank rapidly. In the next moment, he saw Shangguan Jinjue screaming in pain. Lu Ming's palm struck down without hesitation. Bang! Shangguan Jinjue's head exploded like a watermelon. Miao Yi's eyes almost popped out, and he almost bit his tongue. Shangguan Jinjue was killed by Lu Ming with a single palm strike. After killing Shangguan Jinjue with a single palm strike, Lu Ming reached out and sucked Shangguan Jinjue's storage ring away. He then devoured the blood essence and looked at Miao Yi coldly. You brought people to kill me too? Lu Ming's tone was cold and filled with killing intent. Miao Yi was shocked, and he felt cold sweat on his back. He hurriedly said, No, why would I? I was just passing by, Haha, brother's bravery. I admire you. Goodbye. Miao Yi cupped his fists, and an ugly smile appeared on his face. He turned around and left. What a joke. Shangguan Jinjue's battle prowess was much stronger than his, and he was a peerless genius of the Shangguan clan. Lu Ming even killed Shangguan Jinjue, so he probably wouldn't go easy on him. He was simply a ruthless person, and he didn't fear the power behind them. How could he still have the thought of killing Lu Ming? He only wanted to get as far away from Lu Ming as possible. Miao Yi left as if he was escaping. Lu Ming smiled, and he didn't chase after him. As expected, if you were a little more ruthless, others would be afraid of you. The other young experts in the surroundings were also shocked, and their emotions were extremely complicated. Shangguan Jinjue, a peerless genius of the Eastern Wilderness, died just like that. Right now, the battle of karmic luck hadn't even started, and there were already peerless geniuses dying one after another. When the battle of karmic luck officially started, how tragic would it be? At that time, how many geniuses would die? At that time, the strong would become stronger, and they would step on the corpses of the weak to reach the peak. Chapter 784. This time, there were 3 at the 5th layer of the spiritual sea realm and 1 at the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm. Their essence blood was even more majestic and pure. Similarly, they all rushed towards the suppressing prison monument's bloodline. This time, the refinement took an entire day's time. In the Shangguan clan, a terrifying aura and killing intent were emitted from a palace. What did you say? Jinjue was killed by that kid called Lu Ming? A deep roar rang out, filled with endless anger. The owner of the voice was Shangguan Wuchen and Shangguan Wuling's father, the Shangguan clan's elder with real power, Shangguan Zhongyuan. Shangguan Wuchen, Shangguan Wuling, and a skinny man stood beside Shangguan Zhongyuan. Their faces were pale and cold sweat was dripping down. They knew that Shangguan Zhongyuan was infuriated, incomparably furious. Shangguan Jinjue was killed? In the entire Shangguan clan's younger generation, Shangguan Jinjue was ranked number 2. There was only one person stronger than Shangguan Jinjue. The Shangguan clan had high hopes for such a genius. In the future, he would definitely become the pillar of the Shangguan clan. Unfortunately, he died just like that. How could Shangguan Zhongyuan not be angry? Lu Ming, he must die. After a moment of silence, Shangguan Zhongyuan spat out a cold sentence. But father, there's someone guarding the 100 Supremes mountain. Those above the age of 30 can't enter. How can we kill that little bastard? Shangguan Wuchen said. Among the younger generation of the Shangguan clan, there was no one who could compete with Lu Ming except for one person. But that person was cultivating in a higher sacred ground and couldn't be disturbed. If they wanted to kill Lu Ming, they could only send an elder. But the elder couldn't enter the 100 Supremes mountain. Moreover, they didn't dare to openly send an elder to kill Lu Ming. They could only do it secretly. He can't stay in the 100 Supremes mountain forever. Wait for him to come out. Shangguan Zhongyuan's eyes were extremely cold as he continued. Send someone to monitor the 100 Supremes mountain. When that kid comes out, inform me immediately.
Yes,
the skinny man said.
Lu Ming cultivated beside the long spear for an entire day before he managed to refine all the essence blood.
However, his prison-suppressing steel bloodline still hadn't evolved. However, this time, Lu Ming had a feeling that he wasn't far from the god grade. That feeling was very strange. He could feel that the prison-suppressing steel was not far away from leveling up. Lu Ming looked expectant. Once the hell-suppressing steel was upgraded to the deity rank, his battle prowess would definitely increase greatly. Furthermore, it was said that there was an even more incredible way to utilize a god bloodline. It wasn't as simple as just a burst of strength, but a huge boost to one's battle prowess. Prodigies who had awakened god-level bloodline had another title, which was god-level prodigy. According to the records, the top 300 talents on the list of top 1,000 talents were all god-level talents. That was to say, the top 300 on the list of top 1,000 talents had all awakened the third bloodline, which was a divine-level bloodline. Without awakening a divine bloodline, there was no way he could compete with those prodigies. Lu Ming pondered for a moment, then let out a long breath and stood up. He planned to leave this place and find another place to cultivate.
Brother, may I know your name?
At this moment, a young man walked up to Lu Ming, cupped his fists and smiled. Lu Ming frowned slightly. Brother, I can see that your battle prowess is strong and you're a dragon among men, so I'd like to make friends with you. I'm Chu Zhongshuan. The young man continued. His eyes were very pure, and he didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. Lu Ming raised an eyebrow and said, Chu Zhongshuan, ranked 586th on the list of top 1,000 talents? Haha, my name is nothing compared to yours.
Chu Zhongshuan laughed haughtily.
I'm Lu Ming. Since Chu Zhongshuan was so forthright, Lu Ming wasn't a hypocrite and smiled. Could it be Lu Ming, the greatest king on the heavenly king list? Chu Zhongshuan's eyes flickered. If there's no other Lu Ming who also topped the heavenly king list, then it should be me.
Lu Ming touched his nose and said,
No wonder Brother Lu's battle prowess is so strong. With your battle prowess, you should be able to pass the 100 Masters Tower and even get a token that leads to a higher cultivation sanctuary. Chu Zhongshuan sighed. 100 Masters Tower? A token that leads to a higher cultivation sanctuary?
Lu Ming was puzzled.
It seems that Brother Lu doesn't know. Chu Zhongshuan was a little surprised. He immediately gave Lu Ming a simple explanation. There were many cultivation sanctuaries in 9 Dragons, and the 100 Masters Mountain was just one of them. It was just an ordinary cultivation sanctuary. There were other cultivation sanctuaries that were more wonderful and had better effects than the 100 Masters Mountain. However, some of these sanctuaries required a lot of resources, so only a limited number of people could enter. Some sanctuaries were only open to those who ranked high on the list of top 1,000 talents.
After all, resources were limited and could only be given to the stronger geniuses so that they could achieve better results in the Battle of Providence.
It was said that the top 100 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents were personally sent to a secret place by Martial Emperor De to cultivate in seclusion and wait for the Battle of Providence.
If one wanted to enter a higher cultivation Holy Land, apart from becoming one of the top geniuses in the world, there was another way, and that was to obtain the qualifications.
In some ordinary cultivation sanctuaries, there would be some testing grounds. For example, the 100 Masters Tower in the 100 Masters Mountain. As long as one could pass the test, there was a chance that they could get a token that led to a higher cultivation sanctuary. Some geniuses who cultivated in the 100 Masters Mountain would often go to the 100 Masters Tower. I can't believe there's such a place. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The 100 Masters Mountain was very effective for those with low cultivation. However, as one's cultivation increased, the effect would weaken. It would be better if one could cultivate in a more mysterious place. Brother Lu, do you want to go? Why don't we go together? I was going to try it too. Chu Zhongshuan said. All right, let's go together. Lu Ming said. Then the two of them left. Chu Zhongshuan had been there before, so he was familiar with the place. He led Lu Ming in the direction of the 100 Masters Mountain. A few hours later, a tall tower appeared in front of them. It was a stone tower that took up a large area. It towered into the clouds. The two of them flew over and landed at the foot of the stone tower.
There were a few other young men at the foot of the stone tower, and they all looked up.
Lu Ming also looked up. The stone tower had a total of 10 floors. At that moment, the first 6 floors were shining brightly while the last 4 floors were pitch black. Along the way, Chu Zhongshuan explained the situation of the 100 Masters Tower to Lu Ming. The 100 Masters Tower did not test one's cultivation, but the will of heaven and earth. The 100 Masters Tower had a total of 10 floors.
As long as one could get to the 9th floor, they could get a token that led to a higher cultivation sanctuary.
Every time one passed a floor, the 100 Masters Tower would light up. At that moment, the first 6 floors were lit up, which meant that someone had reached the 6th floor. Right at this moment, the light on the 7th floor suddenly lit up. Luan Xiongfei has already reached the 7th floor. Can he reach the 8th floor? It's hard to say. However, the Luan family's will of 100 battles is indeed terrifying. Chapter 785. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The Luan family was one of the 6 ancient families. Luan Xiongfei, ranked 432 on the list of top 1,000 talents, was even more powerful than Shangguan Jinjue. Clearly, Luan Xiongfei had reached the 7th floor. Rumble! Just then, a loud explosion came from the sky and a scorching aura spread toward Lu Ming and the others.
Everyone turned their heads and saw a tall and sturdy figure rapidly flying over.
His entire body was covered in purple flames, making him look like a purple sun. It's the Wang family's sky-burning flame skill. Someone exclaimed. Boom!
In the blink of an eye, the man was close to the 100 Masters Tower, but he had no intention of slowing down.
His whole body was like a meteorite, smashing toward them. Oh no, get out of the way! The others were shocked and quickly retreated.
Lu Ming furrowed his brows and stood still.
Haha, get out of my way! The man from the Wang family laughed and smashed down. Brother Lu, get out of the way! Chu Zhongshuan pulled Lu Ming aside and dodged. Boom! The people from the Wang family stomped heavily on the spot where Lu Ming had been standing earlier. The ground roared, gravel flew everywhere and cracks appeared on the ground. Wang Kong, it's Wang Kong! Someone exclaimed. Wang Kong, ranked 430 on the list of top 1,000 talents, was 1 rank higher than Luan Xiongfei. Wang Kong landed on the ground and glanced at Lu Ming unkindly. He was a little unhappy that Lu Ming did not want to dodge just now. The Wang family. Lu Ming muttered. He thought of Kenfei Ryu. Kenfei Ryu should have arrived in Kowloon City. He wondered if he had gone to the Wang family. If there was a chance, he would ask the Wang family. Hee, Luan Xiongfei actually reached the 7th floor. It seems that the 100 battles intent has improved. But it won't be that easy to reach the 8th floor. Wang Kong chuckled.
Sure enough, not long after, a ray of light flashed on the 7th floor, and a human figure was sent flying out. It was a burly young man. He was wearing armor and exuded a strong fighting spirit.
Hee, flying disorderly heroes, looks like you've failed. Wang Kong sneered. Wang Kong, I've failed. You might not be better than me. After saying this, Luan Xiongfei didn't stay any longer and flew away. After Luan Xiong flew out, the light of the 100 Heralds Tower was completely extinguished. This meant that there was no one inside. Wang Kong snorted and strode towards the first level of the 100 Masters Pagoda. Below the first floor of the 100 Masters Pagoda, there was a door made of light. After Wang Kong stepped into it, his figure disappeared. Brother Lu, let's give it a try too, Chu Zhongshuan said. The 100 Masters Pagoda could be entered by multiple people at the same time. Lu Ming nodded and stepped through the door of light with Chu Zhongshuan. At the same time, a few others also stepped through the door of light. As soon as Lu Ming entered the light door, he appeared on a platform the next moment. As soon as he entered this place, Lu Ming discovered that he couldn't circulate his true essence at all. Even his spiritual flame couldn't circulate. He could only erupt with the will of heaven and earth. Whoosh! A flaming warblade condensed and slashed towards Lu Ming. This flaming warblade was condensed from the will of fire. It was equivalent to the early stage of level 2 entry. With a thought,
Lu Ming's will of fire erupted and condensed into a flaming long spear.
He then stabbed it towards the flaming warblade. With a bang, the flaming warblade was destroyed. In front of the platform, a door made of light appeared. The first level is really easy. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the door of light. In the next moment, he appeared on another platform. At this moment, if one were to look from outside the 100 Masters Pagoda, they would see that 3 levels were lit up. This meant that someone had reached the 3rd level. This time, a flaming warblade was condensed on the platform. However, the will of fire contained within this flaming warblade had reached the peak of level 2 entry. It was equivalent to Lu Ming's will of fire. Lu Ming only used a will of fire to condense a long spear to clash with the flaming warblade. Clang! Clang!
The long spear and the warblade constantly clashed and the sound of metal clashing could be heard.
Fighting purely with the will of fire. Not bad. This can train my will and make it stronger. Lu Ming thought as he focused on controlling the will of fire to fight with the flaming warblade. Lu Ming's will of fire was also at the peak of level 2 entry, which was equivalent to the flaming warblade. The two continued to clash. At this moment, 5 levels of the 100 Masters Pagoda had lit up. This meant that someone had reached the 5th level. What a fast speed. That should be Wang Kong. He has already reached the 5th level. I wonder if he can reach the 9th level. The 9th level is unlikely. Luan Xiongfei only reached the 7th level. I reckon that Wang Kong will most likely stop at the 7th level. Under the 100 Masters Pagoda, there were still a few people watching and discussing. Lu Ming unleashed his will of fire and clashed with the flaming warblade.
After more than 100 rounds, Lu Ming felt that he had become more proficient in using the will of fire.
His long spear danced in the air as he gained the upper hand. After a few moves, he defeated the flaming warblade. Although Lu Ming's will of fire had not broken through the bottleneck and reached level 2 entry, he felt that he was one step closer. After defeating the flaming warblade, another light door appeared in front of him. Lu Ming stepped in and appeared on the platform of the 3rd level in the next moment. This time, a dazzling golden battle sword appeared.
It was condensed from the metal concept, and it had reached the 2nd level of the concept of lesser success.
It seemed that the wills that appeared in the 100 Masters Pagoda were random. There was no fixed wills. Shoo! The golden warblade was extremely sharp as it pierced towards Lu Ming. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming unleashed 2 wills. Wind and fire merged together and formed a long spear. In a few moves, it defeated the golden warblade. Lu Ming continued and entered the 4th level. On the 4th level, there was still a golden warblade. However, the will of metal had reached the peak of level 2 entry. Lu Ming fought with the wills of wind and fire. After a few dozen moves, he defeated the golden warblade and entered the 5th level. At this moment, there were already people who had failed and were ejected. The 7th level also lit up at this moment. Someone had reached the 7th level. Below the pagoda, the others looked up to see if the 8th level would light up. But after a while, the 7th level flashed and a figure flew out. It was Wang Kong. Damn it, I was so close to reaching the 8th level. Wang Kong roared. When Wang Kong came out, he saw that the 7th level's light had extinguished, but the lower 6 levels were still lit. In less than 2 minutes, the 6th level flashed and a figure appeared. It was Chu Zhongshuan. He had reached the 6th level and was ejected. The 6th level's light was extinguished, but the lower 5 levels were still lit. There's still someone on the 5th level. Wang Kong looked at the 100 Masters Pagoda and did not leave. At this moment, Lu Ming was on the 5th level. A green ring appeared on the 5th level. It was formed by the will of wind and had reached level 2 entry. Lu Ming still only used the wills of wind and fire. He tried his best to resist, but he was completely at a disadvantage. Chapter 786. Lu Ming didn't want to achieve anything, but he wanted to avoid any mistakes. He focused his mind and unleashed his wind and fire intent to resist the attacks. Although Lu Ming's long spear, which was condensed by the concept of wind and fire, was buzzing and trembling with every attack, as if it would collapse at any time, Lu Ming blocked it every time. Lu Ming blocked the attacks while comprehending them. Outside the 100 Masters Pagoda, everyone was watching. What's going on? Who is it? Why did he stay on the 5th floor for so long? It's the person who came with Chu Zhongshuan. I don't know what his name is, but I reckon that he can only reach the 5th floor at most. That's why he was stuck there for so long. If you can't pass, come down quickly. There are still others who want to go in. Don't waste their time. At this moment, there were others who had just arrived and they snorted. Boring. Wang Kong curled his lips in disdain. Just as he was about to leave, his eyes flickered. The others were also stunned. Because of this, the 6th floor of the 100 Masters Pagoda suddenly lit up. Lu Ming had reached the 6th floor. After enduring for so long, he finally reached the 6th floor. I reckon that the 6th floor is his limit. I bet that he will be ejected from the 6th floor in less than a minute. But before they could finish their words, they stopped abruptly. Because the 7th floor suddenly lit up as well. It had only been a few breaths since the 6th floor lit up, and the 7th floor lit up. Below the 100 Masters Pagoda, those people couldn't help but open their mouths wide. Those who said that Lu Ming's limit was the 6th floor, and those who said that Lu Ming would be ejected in less than a minute, blushed in shame. This slap to their faces was too fast. The 7th floor was already the highest floor that Wang Kong and Luan Xiongfei had reached. Now, another person had reached it. Interesting. Wang Kong moved back and stared at the 100 Masters Pagoda. The 7th floor stopped again. The 8th floor didn't light up, and no one came out. Inside the 100 Masters Pagoda, Lu Ming felt that he had trained enough on the 5th floor. Once again, he unleashed his lightning intent and fused the 3 intents, instantly destroying the green ring and entering the 6th floor. The 6th floor's intent was equivalent to the peak of 2nd grade minister. Lu Ming only took a few breaths to destroy it and reach the 7th floor. Therefore, the time when the 6th and 7th levels lit up was only a few breaths apart. The perfect 2nd grade intent appeared on the 7th floor. A lightning spear formed from lightning, and it pierced towards Lu Ming. It was fast and ruthless, instantly appearing in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming used his 3 intents to resist the lightning spear. This time, the battle lasted for more than 10 minutes. Haha, lightning's intense intent tests. During the fierce battle with the lightning spear, Lu Ming was enlightened and cultivated his thunder concept to the peak of 2nd level entry level. The power of the fusion of the 3 concepts increased again, and it destroyed the lightning spear in one fell swoop. The 7th floor's Lu Ming stepped into the 8th floor through the light door. When Lu Ming stepped into the 8th level of the 100 Masters Pagoda lit up. Below the pagoda, the crowd couldn't help but widen their eyes. Lu Ming actually reached the 8th floor. Terrifying. This meant that Lu Ming's comprehension of intents had surpassed Luan Xiongfei and Wang Kong. Amazing. Lu Ming is really amazing. Chu Zhongshuan praised inwardly. Humph. Intent doesn't represent everything. This person's intent isn't bad, but his battle strength isn't that strong. Wang Kong snorted. The crowd didn't say anything. They knew that Wang Kong was unhappy that someone had surpassed him. They only raised their heads and looked at the 100 Masters Pagoda. Would he be able to reach the 9th floor? They couldn't help but look forward to it. The 8th floor's intent was the peak of 2nd grade perfect. Lu Ming's 3 intents weren't a match for it. Therefore, Lu Ming unleashed the earth intent. Once the earth intent was unleashed, the 4 intents fused and crushed the opponent. Lu Ming reached the 9th floor. The 9th floor lit up. Someone has reached the 9th floor. Amazing. Amazing. As long as he performs well on the 9th floor, he might be able to get a token that leads to a higher cultivation ground. The 9th floor is extremely difficult to pass. The better his performance, the more likely he is to get a token. Below the pagoda, the crowd widened their eyes and stared at the top of the pagoda, the 9th floor. They wanted to see when someone would be ejected out. The 9th floor's intent didn't reach the 3rd level. If it did, there would be no need to compete. A 3rd level intent could completely crush a 2nd level intent. 9 battle swords appeared on the 9th floor. Blue, red, gold. They were actually 9 common intents. Each of them formed a battle sword and pierced towards Lu Ming. The 9 swords vaguely formed a sword formation. Boom. The 4 types of intents merged and formed a dazzling battlesuit of 4 colors on Lu Ming's body. It covered his entire body, including his face. At the same time, a long spear was unhindered and had terrifying power. Lu Ming realized that the intents that appeared in the 100 House Pagoda were the 9 common intents. Therefore, those who cultivated special intents would have an advantage here because special intents were more powerful and mysterious. Just like the earth intent, it was the strongest among Lu Ming's 4 intents.
When it fused with the other three intents, its power was also the most terrifying.
Pang, pang, pang. The sound of collisions continued to resound. After a few dozen moves, pang! A battle sword formed by the mountain intent was first defeated by Lu Ming. After the first battle sword was defeated, the remaining 8 intents were much weaker. Subsequently, one battle sword after another was defeated by Lu Ming. Soon, all 9 battle swords were defeated by Lu Ming. A light door appeared in front of the platform. Is that the entrance to the 10th floor? Lu Ming muttered. According to Chu Zhongshuan, it was difficult for ordinary people to pass the 9th floor. It would be considered good if they could pass the 9th floor and even last for a period of time. On the 9th floor, 9 common intents fused into 9 battle swords to form a sword array. Moreover, they were all at the peak of the 2nd level. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to pass at all. Only Lu Ming, who had fused 4 intents and the powerful earth intent, could pass the 9th floor. Then, what would the 10th floor have? Lu Ming stepped forward and entered the light door. Outside the pagoda, when Lu Ming stepped into the light door leading to the 10th floor, the light on the 9th floor suddenly extinguished. The entire 100-house pagoda's light was extinguished. The light is extinguished. That person has failed. They didn't know Lu Ming's name. Something's not right. Why hasn't he come out yet? Normally, he would be ejected after failing. Could he have died in there? Probably not. I've never heard of anyone dying in the 100-house pagoda. Wait. However, an hour passed in the blink of an eye and Lu Ming still hadn't come out. 2 hours later, Lu Ming still hadn't come out. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed and Lu Ming still hadn't come out. Chapter 787. What's going on? Chu Zhongshuan was also a little anxious, worried that something might have happened to Lu Ming. Chu Zhongshuan, this person came with you. Who is he? Wang Kong's gaze shifted to Chu Zhongshuan. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. He is Lu Ming, Chu Zhongshuan said after pondering for a while. It was just a name, there was nothing to hide. Lu Ming? Who is that? You don't even know Lu Ming? Seems like you have been in seclusion for too long. I heard that the first place of this year's Heavenly King ranking is Lu Ming. So it's him. Some of the people present had heard of Lu Ming's name, while others had not. Lu Ming, so it's him. Wang Kong's eyes were even sharper, as if there were flames burning in them. Of course, he had heard of Lu Ming's name. During the Heavenly King ranking battle, the Wang family had lost a few geniuses, all of whom were killed by Lu Ming. I'd like to see what's going on with this 100 tower. How many days can you stay in there? Wang Kong sneered as he appeared on a huge rock not far away and sat down cross-legged. In fact, Lu Ming was also a little surprised. When he stepped into the light door and appeared on the 10th floor, he realized that there were 2 old men sitting cross-legged on the 10th floor. The 2 old men were dressed in gray robes, and there was no aura on them, as if they were 2 ordinary old men. However, Lu Ming obviously did not think that they were ordinary old men. It was impossible for ordinary old men to appear here. The only possibility was that their cultivation was too profound, and he could not sense it at all. When Lu Ming appeared, the 2 old men's gazes landed on Lu Ming and they were shocked. Interesting, you have actually comprehended 4 different intents, and have successfully fused all 4 intents. This is very rare. One of the old men said. It's not just rare. I have never seen anyone who can fuse 4 intents and cultivate to the 2nd level. I have seen someone who has fused 3 intents. Another old man also spoke. Junior Lu Ming greets the 2 seniors. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed respectfully. Not bad, little guy. One of them nodded. Senior, may I ask what the test of the 10th floor is? Lu Ming asked. Examination? No, you've already cleared all the levels. However, since you've reached the 10th level, the 2 of us old fellows can't do nothing. As the old man on the left spoke, his eyes suddenly lit up like 2 balls of fire. In the next moment, endless flames enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. 4 different wills filled the air as he shouted at the same time. Senior, what do you mean? Brat, just use the concept of fire to resist. It'll be good for you, the old man said. Lu Ming's heart shuddered. These 2 old men were unfathomable. It would be easy for them to kill him. Why did they have to do this? Judging from the old man's tone, there seemed to be another reason. Immediately, Lu Ming withdrew the other 3 wills, and only used the concept of fire to resist. When the flames controlled by the old man surrounded Lu Ming didn't feel the slightest bit of heat. Instead, he felt very comfortable. He felt as if he was bathing in the concept of fire. The various changes of the concept of fire appeared before his eyes. The concept of fire has such changes. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Why didn't I think of it? After a while, Lu Ming's eyes became brighter. He closed his eyes and comprehended. His perception was completely immersed in the concept of fire in the outside world, and his own concept of fire had various changes as he comprehended it. This brat has such a strong comprehension ability. The eyes of the old man on the left lit up, and he couldn't help but praise. Indeed, his comprehension ability is amazing to have comprehended it so quickly. However, it's not surprising. To be able to successfully merge 4 different wills and cultivate to this level, even if he had a fortuitous encounter, his comprehension ability is absolutely amazing. The old man on the right said. Just like this, Lu Ming was immersed in cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. After 3 days, Lu Ming's concept of fire suddenly became violent and powerful. The concept of fire had finally broken through to level 2 initial success. Breaking through the bottleneck in 3 days. Not bad, not bad. The old man on the left nodded and withdrew the concept of fire. Thank you, Senior, for helping me. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He knew that the old man intended to help him. Brat, don't be happy too early. There's more. The eyes of the old man on the right lit up. As soon as he opened his mouth, a fierce wind blew. Endless concept of wind enveloped Lu Ming. Concept of wind. Lu Ming was overjoyed and continued to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. Lu Ming's concept of wind had also successfully broken through to level 2 initial success. Brat, the 2 of us have only mastered these 2 wills. Consider it your reward for passing the stage. The other wills are up to you to comprehend. The old man on the right withdrew the concept of wind and smiled. Thank you, 2 seniors. Lu Ming bowed and thanked them again. There's also this token. Take it. With your talent, you're fully qualified to cultivate in a higher holy land. A token appeared in the hands of the elder on the left and he threw it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it and was overjoyed. Wasn't this token the reason he came here? Now he finally got it. Lu Ming bowed again to express his gratitude. Go. The old man on the right waved his hand. Immediately, a powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. With a flash of light, Lu Ming discovered that he was already out of the 100 Masters Pagoda. He appeared in mid-air outside the pagoda. At the same time, the true yuan in his body was no longer suppressed and could circulate freely. Lu Ming circulated his true yuan and landed on the ground. Lu Ming is out. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, someone exclaimed. Lu Ming actually stayed in the 100 Masters Pagoda for 6 days and then came out safe and sound. This was somewhat unbelievable. In the past, even if someone passed, they would only obtain a token. No one had stayed in there for 6 days. On a huge rock not far away, Wong Kong opened his eyes. There were 2 bowls of fire burning in his eyes. His body moved and a blazing aura spread toward Lu Ming. He suddenly landed in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming, what did you experience in there? Speak. Wong Kong asked, his tone full of command. What did I experience in there? What does it have to do with you? Lu Ming frowned and glanced at Wong Kong. Lu Ming, what's with your attitude? If I say it has something to do with me, it has something to do with me. Also, did you obtain a token that leads to a higher holy land? Hand it over. Wong Kong reprimanded coldly. Idiot. Get out of my way. You're blocking the way. Lu Ming was speechless. Who did Wong Kong think he was? Others might be afraid of him, but Lu Ming had never been afraid of anyone in his entire life. Lu Ming, don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you're the top of the Heavenly King ranking and have a stronger intent realm. Let me tell you, the Heavenly King ranking is a joke in my eyes. Although you've passed the 100 Masters Pagoda, your intent realm can't fully represent your combat strength. I advise you to hand over the token obediently before I take action. Chapter 788. The others watched quietly, knowing that Wong Kong was trying to snatch Lu Ming's token. It all depended on how Lu Ming would deal with it. Chu Zhongshuan wanted to speak up for Lu Ming, but the Wang family was too powerful. If he spoke up, he might get himself into trouble. He thought for a while and decided not to say anything. Get out of my way. A good dog doesn't block the way. Lu Ming had completely lost his patience. His face turned cold as he scolded coldly. You're courting death. Wang Kong's eyes were completely cold. His body emitted blazing flames, and the terrifying temperature distorted the space. Boom! He stepped out, his hand like a heavenly blade, and slashed at Lu Ming. Get out of my way! Lu Ming also struck out with his palm, activating the hell-suppressing heaven skill. Bang! Their palms collided with a buzzing sound. Lu Ming's body shook slightly, while Wang Kong took 2 steps back. Wherever his feet stepped, the rock was directly vaporized by the terrifying temperature, and 2 dark holes appeared. Let's fight in the air. Lu Ming rose into the air and appeared in the sky. Kill! Wang Kong's killing intent surged, and the temperature on his body became even more terrifying. The Wang family's sky-burning flame technique was activated to the extreme. At the same time, the pure purple heavenly fire bloodline burst out, making Wang Kong look like he was about to completely turn into a ball of fire. His aura was many times stronger than Wang Ju's when he was still a peak king. Wang Kong's cultivation was also at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm. Sky-burning flame, incineration cut. A saber appeared in Wang Kong's hand, which was also filled with terrifying flames. This is the evolution of the fire essence, the incineration essence. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Wang Kong's talent was indeed terrifying, as he ranked 430th on the list of top 1,000 talents. He had actually evolved the fire essence into the even more terrifying incineration essence. The essence of heaven and earth was not unchanging. It did not mean that the fire essence would be the fire essence just because you comprehended it. Some geniuses with terrifying talent could evolve on the basis of this kind of concept, evolving into an even more terrifying concept. As for what kind of intent realm they could evolve into, it was different for everyone. It would depend on themselves. For example, the 9 great concepts seemed to be the weakest, but they also had the most limitless possibilities. For example, the concept of fire could evolve into countless other concepts related to fire. Many of them were extremely powerful, far surpassing the concept of fire itself. The concept of incineration was one of the evolutions of the concept of fire. Whoosh! A terrifying saber light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body emitted 4 different wills, which merged with the Genyu Heaven skill. He slashed out a palm towards Wang Kong. Boom! In the sky, there was a terrifying explosion. The clouds were torn apart, and 5 different colors of light filled the entire sky. This time, Lu Ming's figure only swayed a little, but Wang Kong retreated 9 steps consecutively with a loud thud. How is this possible? Wang Kong's eyes were filled with shock. He had already unleashed his full strength, but he was still pushed back by Lu Ming's palm. He simply couldn't believe it. He was the genius of the Wang family. The Wang family cultivated the Raging Flames sky-burning art, which was a deity-level cultivation technique. In addition, his intent had evolved and comprehended the concept of incineration. Moreover, his bloodline martial technique was also extremely powerful, and was also a demigod martial technique. It could be said that he had no shortcomings. In a battle of the same level, except for a limited number of monstrous geniuses or deity-level geniuses who had awakened a deity-level bloodline, he feared no one. However, right now, Lu Ming had actually skipped levels and defeated him. When had he ever been pushed back by someone with a higher level? Damn it! Wang Kong roared, and the flames on his body roared as if they were going to burn the world. Is there any use in yelling? Lu Ming took a step forward and slashed at Wang Kong with his palm. Boom! The two exchanged blows, and Wang Kong retreated again. To be honest, Wang Kong was very strong. He was much stronger than Shangguan Jinjue. When Shangguan Jinjue faced Lu Ming, he was completely suppressed and killed in a few moves. As for Wang Kong, he could still block, although he was completely at a disadvantage. Bang! 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 After more than 10 moves, Wang Kong was completely suppressed. No matter how much he roared, it was useless. Bang! In the end, Wang Kong was sent flying over 1,000 meters by Lu Ming's palm, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming, just you wait! Wang Kong roared and turned to leave, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming did not chase after him. Wang Kong was very strong, extremely strong. If he wanted to leave, Lu Ming would not be able to kill him unless he used the inscription Dao and cooperated with him. The surrounding people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming had actually defeated Wang Kong, and it was a battle of a higher level. It was really terrifying. Brother Lu is really powerful. I admire you. Chu Zhongshuan walked over and said, still with a look of amazement on his face. You're welcome, Brother Chu. I need to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. I'll take my leave now. Lu Ming cupped his fists and then stepped into the air and left. Some of the people left behind were full of doubts. They were guessing whether Lu Ming had obtained a token that led to a higher cultivation's sacred ground. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, Lu Ming landed on a mountain peak and then entered the Temple of Paragon. 5 or 6 storage rings appeared in his hand. These storage rings were obtained from the enemies he had killed, such as Shangguan Jinjue and the others.
They were all above the spiritual sea realm, and there were even some at the 5th level of the spiritual sea realm in Shangguan Jinjue.
There were many things inside. Not to mention other things. Just the top-grade spiritual crystals added up to 800 million. There were even dozens of mid-grade profound crystals, but there were all kinds of them. There were also many martial skills, spiritual weapons, and elixirs. It was a pity that there were no origin stones, but Lu Ming was satisfied.
Now, his 4 intents had all reached the peak of the 2nd level, and even his wind and fire intents had reached the 2nd level.
He could continue to devour spiritual crystals to increase his cultivation. However, 800 million spiritual crystals wouldn't increase his cultivation by much. Lu Ming had consumed more than 800 million spiritual crystals in the process of breaking through to the spiritual sea realm from the martial king realm. Moreover, he had cultivated the super spiritual sea. If Lu Ming wanted to increase his cultivation now, he would need to consume even more energy. Bang, bang, bang. Piles of top-grade spiritual crystals were devoured, and Lu Ming started to refine them crazily. 100 million, 200 million. Not long after, Lu Ming had refined 600 million of the 800 million spiritual crystals. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the 2nd level of the spiritual sea realm. If he wanted to break through to the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm, the remaining 200 million spiritual crystals weren't enough. Lu Ming didn't continue to devour them. However, reaching the peak of the 2nd level of the spiritual sea realm also increased Lu Ming's true origin by a lot. In his spiritual sea, true origin was surging. At this moment, a spiritual medicine appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was a 6th level spiritual medicine. For a long time, Lu Ming hadn't cultivated his physical body. Now, it was time for him to cultivate properly.
Using the 10,000 spirit battle body, he started to refine the spiritual medicine and cultivate his physical body.
In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed.
Lu Ming had refined more than 26th level spiritual medicine, and his physical body had reached the peak of the 7th level.
Chapter 789. After a few days of cultivation, Lu Ming's strength had improved a little. He ended his seclusion and continued to look for seals to comprehend the essence. Half a day later, Lu Ming sat cross-legged beside a huge stone axe and quietly comprehended. The essence that this stone axe exuded was the earth essence. There were not many people who could comprehend the earth essence. Including Lu Ming, there were only 5 people around the stone axe. The head of the dragon vein was the center of the dragon vein. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth was so dense that it turned into mist and drifted between heaven and earth.
There was even an essence of heaven and earth permeating between heaven and earth.
Obviously, there was a Dao eye in the dragon vein that could allow one to comprehend the essence of heaven and earth. The Wang family of the 6 ancient aristocratic families was located here. In a courtyard of the Wang family, Wang Kong stood beside a slender young man wearing a cloud pattern. There was no arrogance on his face. Instead, there was awe and fear. Wang Kong, do you mean that the person called Lu Ming might have obtained a token that leads to a higher cultivation sacred ground? The young man asked. His voice was not loud, but it was full of authority. Brother Haotian, yes. Lu Ming reached the 9th floor and stayed there for 6 days. It's very likely that he got a token. Wang Kong answered honestly. Oh, that's very likely. I must get that token. I want to enter the blood pool with it and condense the 3rd bloodline. Wang Kong, go get it for me. The young man's eyes lit up. The young man was Wang Haotian, ranked 356th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Although he was only a few dozen places higher than Wang Kong, They were not in the same league. Those in the top 300 were called God-level geniuses. Wang Haotian was in the top 400, close to the top 300. He was a quasi-god-level genius who was about to awaken the third bloodline. Once he awakened the third bloodline, and it was a god-level bloodline, he would be a god-level genius. Unfortunately, although Wang Haotian reached the 9th floor of the 100 Masters Tower, he did not get a token to go to a higher cultivation holy land. Wang Kong knew that Wang Haotian wanted to get a token to go to a higher cultivation holy land, the blood pool, to accumulate bloodline power and condense the god-level bloodline. Therefore, when he knew that Lu Ming might have a token, he had to get it. Wang Kong's expression changed slightly. Brother Haotian, that Lu Ming's combat strength is very strong. I couldn't defeat him last time. So that's the case. No wonder you came looking for me. No matter, as long as you mention my name, I don't think he would dare to refuse. Go. Wang Haotian waved his hand. Okay. Wang Kong nodded and left. Lu Ming stood beside the stone axe. This enlightenment took him 5 days. Lu Ming had gained a lot. He felt that the Earth concept could break through to level 2 initial success at any time. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly turned his head and looked in one direction. Wang Kong. Wang Kong said coldly. Why? Are you looking for trouble again? Lu Ming smiled faintly. As soon as these words were spoken, the other 4 people besides Xueqi revealed a trace of shock. Could it be that Wang Kong was really defeated by this young man before them? Wang Kong's face darkened. I'm not the one looking for you this time. Wang Haotian. You should have heard of him, right? The quasi-god level prodigy, Wang Haotian, ranked 356th? Lu Ming was surprised. That's right. He asked me to take the token from you. Hand it over. Wang Kong said coldly, his tone revealing a hint of threat. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly burst into laughter. What are you laughing at? Wang Kong's face darkened. I'm laughing at your Wang family. You're one of the 6 ancient families. What a disgrace. You don't have the ability to get it, but you want to get it from others. Who does Wang Haotian think he is? If he wants it, ask him to come and get it himself. Lu Ming laughed. His tone was full of disdain. Lu Ming, how dare you insult my Wang family? No one can save you. Wang Kong roared. Do you want to try? Lu Ming's eyes were as sharp as a blade. He exuded a powerful aura and took a step forward. Boom. Heaven and earth roared. Lu Ming's body exuded a powerful aura. Wang Kong's face changed drastically. He retreated quickly and shouted, Lu Ming, just you wait. After saying that, he left quickly. Coward. Lu Ming shook his head and continued to sit cross-legged beside the stone axe. However, just as he sat down, Lu Ming's expression changed. A voice transmission jade talisman appeared in his hand. He scanned it with his mind and his face changed slightly. It was a message from Qiao Xian. She seemed to be quite anxious. She had something urgent to tell Lu Ming and asked Lu Ming to meet her at a place. Lu Ming furrowed his brows and stopped cultivating. He flew towards the address that Qiao Xian left behind. A few hours later, Lu Ming met Qiao Xian. Lu Ming. Something happened to Fatty and Ting Ting. Qiao Xian said anxiously as soon as she saw Lu Ming. What? What happened? Lu Ming's face changed. It's like this. Immediately, Qiao Xian told him what she had learned. It turned out that Kong Jin had been cultivating with Wan Tingting after entering the 100 Supremes mountain. Everyone knew what Kong Jin was thinking. However, no one had expected that Wan Tingting had obtained a great opportunity. She had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert from a seal. That inheritance was a deity-level cultivation technique. This time, many people were shocked. The geniuses of the Wan family were nearby. They immediately forced Wan Tingting to hand over the deity-level cultivation technique. Wan Tingting refused, so the Wan family took action. This time, the genius from the Luan clan was defeated by Kong Jin at the beginning. However, the Luan clan sent out even more people. Kong Jin wasn't a match for them. He fled with Wan Tingting. Now, they were trapped in a cave. Tingting and Fatty didn't send us any news. They must be afraid of getting us involved. I only heard about it because this matter was getting out of hand. Now, Fatty and the others are in danger, so I thought of you. Qiao Xian said. Damn the Luan family. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The Luan family and the Wang family were jackals of the same tribe. They thought they were superior and could take other people's things as they wished. Lu Ming, I also heard that Tingting's inheritance is deep in her soul. Once it is leaked, her soul will explode and she will die. Chao Xian said anxiously. Do you know where they are trapped? Bring me there. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with a cold light. They are at a place marked by a seal. It's quite far from here. Let's go. Lu Ming and Chao Xian immediately flew into the sky and disappeared. Huff huff huff. Kong Jin panted heavily. His entire body was covered in blood. It was all his own blood. He held his battle axe and blocked the entrance of a cave. Ruan Tingting was inside the cave. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.